I got lied to. That's not the intro because I got lied to. Are we actually live now? Okay, I can actually talk. Hi, welcome to Left Right Cab, a debate show that isn't really a debate show. I'm Tanner Hall, and I take the right stance on arguments, whether it's politics, philosophy, pop culture, history, you name it. I tend to try to take a more of a libertarian or conservative side. My co-host, Travis, tends to take a more liberal side, and our audiovisual tech guy, Jake, will just tell us that we're both crazy and wrong, and what does he call it? The nihilist approach?
That's right.
Nihilist approach. So, during the show, the catch of the show is we drink cab, hence the Left Right Cab. Tonight's episode, we named all the episodes after the cab we're drinking. Travis, you brought it, so I'm going to let you do the intro.
So tonight's episode is called Rackhouse.
Roadhouse.
This one, we wanted to change it up a little bit. We've now moved to California cabs. The past couple of weeks, I think we've kind of fallen into a niche of Northwestern cabs. So this one is from Lodi, California. And what really kind of caught my eye when pursuing this was that it was a bourbon barrel aged, which is honestly kind of like a newer thing that I haven't seen too frequently. But yeah, pretty excited to.
We have not tried it. We never try it before we get on camera with you guys. I sniffed it. I cheated a little. I sniffed it.
Yep.
It smelled strong. I think it's going to be too strong for me. I like my sweets.
So this one does state it has some vanilla flavor to it, which is kind of a throwback to our first pilot episode, I guess.
Yeah.
Which had a very sweet cab on it, and that one was vanilla was a very strong forward flavor on it. So this, hopefully, we can find a wine that addresses all of our palates pretty well, and we all think it's pretty solid.
So after we drink it, we're going to give a little quick review of it. Give a shout out to the brand name. We're going to guess the price of it. We'll rate it on the drinkability-o-meter.
Yep.
I think that name changes every week. But so cheers to this episode. I think it's episode 4 or 5. What are we on now?
Officially
Yes.
4.
Officially 4?
Fifth episode.
Yes. I'll never get it
Fourth
right.
actual episode.
All right, here we go.
Cheers.
I knew it was going to be some of this bullshit. I knew it. So, okay, so slightly, for me at least, slightly sweeter aftertaste than when it first hits your tongue. Like if I do that little sound, it's sweeter after. It's not the worst.
What were the notes on this, Travis?
So this is actually kind of marketing itself far more on the bourbon barrel kick. So they're really saying, you're going to get that oaky flavorness, that kind of char, that caramel. It's like if Irish whiskey was, going to be in wine form.
Yeah, that's a very good analysis of this.
So
There's a weird, maybe I just haven't drank a little while.
The nose is boozy. The nose is very.
That's why I was like, when I
it
smelled
definitely
it,
smells like hooch.
I'm like, this is strong when I
The
smell
nose
it.
is boozier than the mouth, for sure.
Yes.
So typically a cab falls anywhere between 10.5 to 11, maybe 12%. This is 14.8. So
you're saying this will knock you on your ass?
for the most part, I think it was 14.8. Or
It
that
is
was the
14.8.
percent
It is
sign.
14.8.
So
It is 14.8% wine. The rest is just pure alcohol.
Yeah.
Pure grain alcohol.
So that said, it's definitely a unique one. I really think that if Irish whiskey was wine, really kind of hits what this is going for.
I do get the bourbon. It's
Yeah.
But there are oftentimes a lot of brewers, cider makers, vintners, who really try to lean too much on like a kitschy sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely one of those.
I agree.
Kind of
it doesn't have a depth to the flavor soup so much.
Yeah, I think it's really trying to just capitalize on the bourbon barrelness of it, and it really sacrifices the cab.
I think it's less boozy, maybe than it smells.
Than whiskey, yes.
Well, then it smells. I mean,
I'm hoping the mic picks that word up correctly, and you're not saying bougie. Like it's kind of bougie instead of boozy.
I mean, it's got a gold logo, so
yeah,
it could
it's
be
pretty
bougie.
pinky up,
Yeah.
bougie.
True. And one of the other pieces with it, though, is that all of the other wine that we had were all from the Willamette and Columbia River valleys. So
Right.
Northwest wines. Despite the fact that a cab sauv was established in California, memory serves, it's where that kind of collection came from.
Not from France?
No, cab sauvs are not. It is a strictly American wine.
Good to know. Oh, Bordeaux. Those are...
Bordeaux would
there you
be
go.
a French equivalent,
Cool.
or something that tastes comparable to it.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah, California cabs are where that kind of came forward. But I do think that...
So they just used French words to be pretentious?
Yeah, welcome to California.
So to walk off the criticism we're making right now, I think that at least for my palate, even though it's not the deepest flavor, even though it has a bit of a booziness to it that's a little too in the front of the flavor, I like the palate it's going for. If that makes any sense, it's a well balanced palate. It's not super sweet. It's not super bitter. I think the booziness is where it loses me a little bit.
I'm at... are we doing the grade?
Sure.
We can move to the...
We're grading. I am at 4.5 for this.
Like flat 6.
I feel like I've given a 6 to every wine that
We were 7
we've
last.
reviewed.
We were 7 last week. You and I were.
Okay. So,
Oh, wait, that's not right. What was your wine last week? Right?
My wine last week, yeah.
Was it your wine last
It
week?
was mine.
bread and butter.
Bread and butter.
Yep.
Good memory. We can just look over there. We have them all lined up. They can't see.
Yeah, when we get
Eventually, we'll get a room so you can see it all.
when the
behind
studio
us.
is set up, we'll have like a rack house.
Rackhouse.
It's
Rack house.
This wine will be on that rack, but will be removed later on.
It'll be in a house.
I would
The
put this
rack.
at a 5 myself.
Yeah, I think 6 is like a strong answer. Like maybe like a high 5, 6. Sure. I can
All
see
right. Now the price. Guess that price.
Yeah.
Price is right rule. After you, Mr. Jake.
that. $17.99.
Wow. It's probably around there. It's probably higher than I think because the logo. Like
Right.
they probably like we're gonna put so much work into this logo.
You pay for
And
the
we're gonna
building.
we're gonna pay for the green the gold filigree.
Sure.
I think this was $22.99.
Oof. Bold.
Bold move, Cotton.
See, it works out for him.
It does not. So it was $18.99.
Oof.
God, I knew it was.
Close.
The earlier wine I had that was a similar bourbon barrel was at the 22 price range on it.
Damn.
And that was phenomenal.
That was the best one so far still.
So I think that this is, I mean, I hate saying that you get what you pay for with wine because oftentimes you don't. But like this definitely feels like a cheap imitation of that earlier one.
Sure.
So
Which was...
it was a Mondavi Reserve actually that was bourbon barrel aged.
The name was Gravel Bar.
So Gravel Bar was one of the earlier ones for it. That one was not bourbon barrel aged.
Which one was it then?
We have not had it on this show.
Oh, okay. Sorry then. I'm talking about the previous one we had on the show that we liked the most. It was not Gravel.
No, that was Gravel Bar.
Yes, that's still the number one for us at least.
Yeah, I'd say bread and butter was the number
Your
2.
favorite. Your favorite was
Reserve.
your first pick.
Yeah.
That's right.
It just was really sweet.
Yeah,
It
which is
was
not for me.
Yeah, I remember you ranked it lower. I feel the more brute it is, the higher you go, and the lower I go, and the more sweet it is. I'll go higher and you'll go lower.
It's not even just dry. It's like the depth of flavor is important to me. Having a complex
Yeah,
flavor.
you can have sweet wines that have complex sort of palates or their flavor profile.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that with a lot of like Rieslings.
Yeah,
Well,
I
sweet
enjoy
and crisp.
Riesling Moscatos. I like those a lot.
I mean, I enjoy a good Riesling.
So,
The trick is finding one.
yeah, sure.
We should probably put the rating somewhere. We should have like a website
We should have a rating. Is what we think. Well,
Yeah.
you should keep track of all those. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember.
at some point.
We'll have to drink them all again so we can remember all what they taste like.
Well,
Or we just
exactly.
refer to the
We can
video.
go back to the video. Yeah.
I was just trying to give an excuse to drink, Jake.
I mean, I'm always down for that. You know that.
If you're just tuning in, you're unfamiliar with the format. Next, basically, we're going to go into a topic of the week. Usually it can be current events or it could be more of a philosophical topic. We take a break, come back, kind of just shoot from the hip, free flow talk about any current topics that we want to pick each other's brains about. And at the end of the show, we wrap it all up with a lightning round question of just a couple fun questions from people that we know, just to be more chill and not so crazy uptight of a show. So what I was going to talk about today I didn't write a big, huge, crazy thesis. I just kind of got fed up this week. Yeah, it's been happening to me for years, but I constantly am getting told that I'm not allowed to have an opinion on X subject because I am a white male, or I'm male, or I'm cisgender, or I attacked from the left saying I'm not allowed to even comment on posts. I'm not allowed to voice an opinion because of my inherent privilege of being a man. And it just like kind of irks me. So I tried to do a lot of, or not even just being a man. It even went to like, oh, you're white. You'll never understand something. You never grasp something because you're the melanin content of my body prohibits me from understanding a concept or something. And I just don't agree with that theory. So I have a small little tiny intro and some statistics, and then I'm just going to pass off to you guys. And it's not really more like me jabbing at things. It's more just like, hey, here are some facts. What do we think of these facts? And we'll go from there. All right. So I'm going to start with my computer working correctly. That would be a great start. I'm going to start with a quote. And the quote is, "The idea of collectively held guilt at the level of the individual as a legal or philosophical principle is dangerous. It's precisely that sort of danger for people who are really looking for trouble, push. And just a brief glance at 20th century history should teach anyone who wants to know just how unacceptable that is." So I want to tackle the far left or feminist claim of male privilege and the patriarchy. And I want to ask, like, so how good do men really have it? Are we really the evil oppressors the left has made us out to be? What about the pushing of the concept that masculinity is a bad thing and needs to be suppressed or removed from society altogether? To quote Allie Beth Stuckey, if masculinity were truly toxic, the kids growing up without dads would presumably be better off than those who have. But they're not, and all the data says they are not. They tend to be more depressed, aggressive, and turn to criminal activity. The truth is that we need more masculinity in society, not less. However, there are a number of subjects and statistics that show that we as men are number one in a lot of ways, and I've got a little list, which is a song from a play. I can't remember what play it's from. I've got a little list. They make fun of it in Family Guy. Stewie sings it. It's about all the people he wants to kill. Find it, chat. Find the play. I got a little list. I don't remember what it was. Here's a little list. Via the U.S. Department of Labor, men lead workplace deaths due to taking on riskier hands-on jobs, 10 to 1 to be exact. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, men are 20 times more...
It's for the Operata Mikado.
Excellent. Good. We found it. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, men are 20 times more likely to receive the death penalty for the same crime as women. From the same bureau, men will serve 3 times as long as sentences for the same crime as women. Men are also the victims of violent crimes at a much higher rate than women. Per the Urban Institute analysis, men make up 70% of the homeless in the country, 250,000 more to be exact. Meanwhile, of the top 500 companies on the Fortune 500 list, 262 of them have CEOs that are women, so over half, while men make up the other 238. For the CDC, men are more likely to commit suicide, 4-to-1 ratio. The ratio is mirrored for women in regards to who live past 100. Women live longer than men by 4-to-1. Nearly 80% of the military is men. 92% of men make up the frontline infantry units. Turns out we men are very good at dying in wars compared to women. These, the number of white crosses in Arlington National Cemetery, 97% men. However, women reap benefits of male sacrifice for those men who historically won the wars that allowed our freedoms we all enjoy today. So when feminists hold signs and wear shirts saying "cancel men," remind them men defeated the Nazis. Slavery didn't end in America due to the platoons of women having their entrails sliced out and them on hot open fields with a bayonet. Men did. Per 67 studies by the University of Oklahoma and 19 studies by Liverpool John Moores University, the percentage of fathers unknowingly raising a child that is not their own is approaching 5%, which means that in the U.S., that's over 1 million defrauded men and an estimated $100 billion illicitly taken from those men by women. The male players in the NFL, I'm almost done, guys, I promise. The male players in the NFL are required to wear pink ribbons and stripes and pressured by society to donate to breast cancer charities.
Required?
When the NFL does the pink all thing, yes.
It's a requirement.
Yeah.
I'm just clarifying.
Yeah. Will the U.S. Female gymnastics team ever wear blue ribbons for male prostate cancer victims? Because more men in this country get and die from prostate cancer than women with breast cancer. The ratio is actually 7-1. So men die from prostate cancer to women cancer 7-1. Yet the funding that breast cancer receives compared to prostate cancer receives in terms of advertisement, acknowledgement, charity drives, all this stuff is 7-1. It's actually the inverse. They raise 7 times more money, but are 7 times less affected. And the last statistic from the Bureau of Labor Statistics: employment and earnings. Women work an average work week of 33.9 hours to men's work week of 41.6 hours. Feminists often make the claim there's a gender pay gap and the women get paid less for performing the same job. In the fact, the number they use is 81 cents every dollar that men make. There's no big fallacy. There's no bigger fallacy in the feminist doctrine, and it's quite humorous because many men are willing to die on the hill that the pay gap. Many women are willing to die on the hill that the pay gap exists, despite the glaring evidence for the notion. I have just statistics basically here showing that the pay gap also doesn't exist. So I won't go into all the statistics, but I'll say that the pay gap is a myth. And there's tons of reasons why that data is skewed and not valid. So, go.
Well,
I want to address something you said at the very beginning. You said something.
I'm just saying, if there's a patriarchy. So I guess in summary, before I pass off to you, if there's a patriarchy, we men, I don't think, are doing a great job at it. I think it's a terrible example of what a patriarchy is. And I'd like to know, would it be any better under a matriarchal system? I don't know I don't think it would be, but
what all I want to say is, all the way back to the beginning, I stuck on something.
Sure.
And it was about, you said something to the effect that toxic masculinity is
the only masculinity is pretty much
exactly
yeah,
is the
which
only
is
masculinity. It's a false equivalency.
Yeah,
right.
That's actually where I first kind of realized, all right, I need to take down some notes and go through this. So the quote that you cited, I admittedly didn't get that person's name, but it was that if toxic masculinity is so bad,
Allie Beth Stuckey. If masculinity were truly toxic.
So that right there is automatically like that is a not even a false equivalency. It is a factual. It's a misrepresentation of it.
Yes.
It's saying that it's not saying that all masculinity is toxic.
It's qualifying a version of masculinity as toxic.
I would say that's not the message that the far left put. I'm not saying you guys. You guys left are good left. I'm talking far crazy internet left that's going crazy. Like the fact that there was wasn't there a Gillette commercial that was talking about toxic masculinity, like a shaving commercial?
That it was ultimately showing through that shaving is that for trans men, I think, was a part of it, and also like this is something to like teach your kids how to do. Like Gillette took a very positive stance onto it, and I think with that quote, it's misrepresentation that all masculinity is bad. And like, I thought you were saying it was a quote that I said. So it's a quote. No, quote that
she said. I was just quoting her. Okay, I'm like, I don't remember saying something. Okay,
no, I'm just quoting her. So it's that quote, and what's interesting about it is that most people on the left and even the far left aren't really going there saying like, oh, chop off your nuts because like you don't deserve these and like masculinity is bad. They're saying like a form of masculinity is toxic. There is toxic femininity as well.
Quite so.
These are setups that we can say that not all, at the risk of saying, not all cops, but like not all masculinity is bad. And so,
but there's movements, there's groups that literally are saying, don't allow your sons to wrestle with their fathers. That's like teaching them bad habits.
Perpetuating violence.
There's that whole message. Right. That is like totally I think all child experts and child clinicians are saying, no, this is healthy for a male child growing up and to wrestle with their brothers and to wrestle with their dads and even to let them get hurt a little bit,
position for it. There's a lot of childhood studies showing that if you it was actually more of a counter to the helicopter parents approach, that if you shelter them fully, they won't properly adapt to stress, to external risk factors.
Of course.
Like they just
put them in a bubble, then
they're not going to grow and respond correctly or in an optimal fashion.
So would you be on the record saying you have a problem with that? Any of those groups that say
all masculinity is bad? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I assumed you would. I know because I anytime I bring up these top stations, I'm never attacking you guys. I'm always saying the far left. I'll say the left. I mean the far
show
left.
isn't
the
about
crazy
attacking people. It's always this idea.
Ideology.
The idea that it is pushed by movements online, and I just don't understand how it gets traction or following.
See, I think the weird thing, at least for me in this show overall, is that you have. It's probably the same way for you as well. For our opinions, is that when you draw this opinion out, it's something that I haven't experienced in a large swath. I mean, of course it exists. Every stupid opinion has existed in some form.
Yeah. I mean, all ideas have always been. Any idea has already been said or had.
But only, in my opinion, only people who I think are basically invalid anyways would say that everything that makes a man is invalid. You know.
So I won't be one to quickly sort of discount someone based off of a dumb belief they have.
Sure.
It would be very easy in the same way to say like, yeah, I will have conversations and argue with like true fastidious conservatives. I think that their ideology is garbage, but I don't discount them as a person.
Sure.
If maybe I should, but you know. But the moment.
So if someone online literally calls you literally Hitler, I think that's downgrading or
does that mean I also need to blow my brains out?
But I'm thinking like it's actually downplaying and dismissing the actual atrocities and terrible deeds of Hitler. So it's like when you call someone a racist, you water down the term. There's real racism out there.
I mean, wasn't Hitler a socialist anyways?
So I do agree that when you embrace or plaster a term ad nauseum, it diminishes all value. If everything is a racist, if everything is a sexist, everything is a pejorative, then nothing is.
I'm pretty sure that's the approach South Park took when they did the shit episode.
Yes.
Like if we say shit 800 times in an episode, it's not going to have its power anymore. Come 650th time you heard it, you're like, it's okay. It doesn't have the impact anymore.
I think George Carlin did that with fuck as well.
Yeah.
Before him.
I just remember the interview where they're like, can we say... Because they said like shit on some cop show, and it was like this big deal. And they went to the producers, Comedy Central went to the producers, like, hey, can we say shit in that episode? And they're like, no. And they're like, not even once? And like, no. And like, can we say it like 2 or 3 times? Like, no. Like, well, what if we say it like 800 times? So like, okay.
I mean, that is sort of the case. That when terms are just sort of used, and that's sort of the position of, you know, words and the implicit meaning behind them, if you believe in such things, it very much supports that. So that you have people who are saying like, oh, you're literally Hitler. It's like, cool, how many? Oh, obviously not cool, but
cool.
You didn't commit genocide. You are expressing a view that, you know, others may disagree with. That doesn't mean that you're a genocidal maniac.
I just want to say that.
Or a vegetarian, for that matter.
I keep getting older, but Hitler stays the same age.
That's mind-blowing, Jake.
Mind-blowing stuff from Jake Carter.
And from Hitler.
So, do you have any comments? I know I listed a ton of statistics, but do you have any comments on like do men really have it so much better? If you're looking at all these statistics,
so a lot of those statistics, and to kind of move away from the Hitler point, there was the
sorry, Hitler, you're done here for the night. Goodbye.
Good night, Hitler. Good night, Hitler.
Good night, sweet prince.
Jesus.
So, you had a citation about men committing suicide.
Yeah.
You failed to present the counter statistic, which is women attempt suicide far more frequently. So it really comes into this.
I know that's a truth.
Yeah.
And it's the method in which they go about it that fails.
Yes.
Yes.
So
I know.
It's people trying to overdose
stuff. Yeah.
Commonly for it, whereas men, when they try to commit suicide,
we're just going
hanging or a gun.
We're going go big or go home.
Asphyxiation for it. So there's a whole slew of reasons why, yes, that is the case. But the fundamental issue behind it is, A, why do we have so many people fucking committing suicide? It seems as though this is an endemic issue that we need to address. Mental health is something that's not prioritized in the U.S., globally even, really. So that, I think,
but
is
I think
is
there's
where
just
the key piece needs to be addressed.
So
yes, but do you think I have to just make a counterpoint that I think more lives are shattered from the result of a death than the result of an attempt. And because the person's still alive, the person's still with us, we can help them, we can rehabilitate them, we can give them the tools they need to get better. We can be there for them when they're dead. The hearts are broken, the lives are shattered. There's no coming back. And I think it's, I don't want to use the term false equivalency, but I can't think of anything else at the moment. Yes, they attempt more, but
the impact to the social surroundings are different.
Sure. I believe here, though, this might be a ideological line that I would expect you to be on my side for. That pretty much, with some exception, people have the right to take their own life.
I think we all agree there.
Yeah.
And the exception being, like, if you have kids who you're the only person who provides for them, then fuck you for doing it, I guess. But can't really stop you even then. But
I think the argument Tanner's trying to make on it is more of a, when it comes to, I don't want to say like unforeseen, because there's plenty of flags and so on for it.
Sure.
But when someone is just like, oh, this person killed himself last week, the impact of that is a lot more prominently felt, I guess. Like, it's more impactful than someone saying like, oh yeah, they tried to overdose. But in the same token, is that not due to how we kind of process, suicide itself?
I have a terrible comment on this. What's the economic impact of trying versus succeeding?
The economic impact of trying versus succeed. Oh, you're talking about
I think
rehabilitation
it's
costs.
It's more costly
into the state if you're going to a state program.
It's more costly if you fail than if you succeed.
A bullet is a couple dollars.
Yeah, just gonna be that
Jake
guy.
is so scumbaggy right now.
You wanted me to be
Jake is sus. If you're among us, Jake is sus. Right?
You introduced me as the nihilist tonight, so I'm gonna be the nihilist.
Yeah,
he's acting so sus.
So, yeah, I think with the suicide statistic, yes, lives can be truly devastated from a loss of someone actually following through and committing, not even following through, because the intention is there, just the mechanism failed. But I think the other piece on it is, how many people how many people in your life was it disclosed to you that they had attempted suicide? When someone kills themselves,
so one in particular, how many people in my life have committed suicide?
Not like putting you on the spot of like, do you know how many people that committed suicide? Because it's probably a lot more.
There's probably more than I know because they didn't share it with me.
And
there's one person near and dear to my heart that reached out to me after cutting themselves and had no one else to turn to. I'm shocked I was turned. I didn't expect to be turned to, but I was. So that's the person that comes to mind first. But it didn't happen. I mean, alive, well, happy. So.
But that kind of like speaks to it, though, is that it's sort of the silent, not killer on it, but like it establishes.
It is. That's a perfect way to put it, because Robin Williams. Well, we kind of knew he had mental depression. He had alcoholism problem, but it was a silent killer. Chester Bennington.
With Robin Williams, though, is
Chris Cornell, right? Like that's right.
Yeah, Chris Cornell did. Yeah. Parkinson's, though, was the thing for Robin Williams, though. So he
didn't want to lose himself for it.
He didn't want to lose himself in Parkinson's, so he's like done.
Which honestly,
he was struggling with mental health, depression.
Oftentimes,
this certainly was the last card in the
I think it was a new piece of meat on the shit sandwich.
Sure, but still, I mean, that walks a little bit closer to the ethical euthanasia argument.
Absolutely, But Chester Bennington, for example, was
mental health for sure.
Mental health issues for it.
Yeah.
So, I think that the real crux of the issue itself is that we as Americans, we as people, just don't process mental health issues to the degree that we should. So the intention is the same, arguably more prominent in women, just if the mechanism is different. If every woman who attempted suicide had access to a firearm, do you think the statistics would be the same? Because without looking it up offhand, I haven't done it for it, I think most carriers of firearms are men in the U.S.
Oh.
So would you say...
Oh, sorry. We had a comment from chat.
Hello, Chad. Welcome to the chat.
Hello, Chad.
Andrew says, Dixie Wolf, says, I think Robin had Louis bodies, or however you spell it. the initial reports. So I wasn't wrong in the initial reports. The initial reports were Parkinson's, but it seems like that he was maybe had a diffuse Lewy body dementia, which had originally been diagnosed as Parkinson's, and this may have contributed to his depression, revealed in the autopsy.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Interesting. Just like a asterisk to the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, definitely compounding issues.
It's actually-
Depression was present.
That certainly moves the argument a little bit more towards what you were saying too. So I just want to put that out there.
So outside of
Here's a question then to get back to my original statement, because I know we're getting on the validity of suicide.
I've got more points off of your.
All
your
right. So my
citations.
question, I guess, another question I could ask is, are there any subjects or topics or any whatever that is barred from us three being able to have an opinion on and talk about because we are white or we are men or we are heterosexual or whatever? We're employed or something. We're middle class. Oh, here goes Jake.
No.
Okay. So I agree. No. Theoretically, no.
So,
But there's going to be people that listen to this saying, like, these pretentious fucking assholes drinking their wine,
sitting behind,
safe in their home that they own. So many people don't even get to own homes. You privileged white cis male. It's like, the thing's like, you worked for your money. You made the right choices in your life to
be plenty of wrong decisions.
Sure, but enough to lead you to be able to have a home and a job and maybe one day a potential family. You make those. You didn't make stupid mistakes.
So I would say that there's.
It doesn't make you privileged. It just makes you fucking intelligent.
No, I mean, I can say that I did come from a relatively economically privileged position. Now, that said, I do agree with you. I don't think no one should be barred from having an opinion on anything. Merely because if someone says, well, you are not X, Y, or Z, so you can't truly understand it, you're right. I'm not Jake. I can't understand everything he's gone through. I'm not you. There's no way I can truly empathize and understand everything you have or any hardships that you're experiencing.
None of us are black, but we can all still support black movements too.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
see, I would disagree.
I wouldn't. What do you mean?
Go on.
Let's hear
the way that was phrased. So,
yeah, okay.
Okay, so here's back to I support my white friends. I do not support the KKK. I support my black friends. I don't support Black Lives Matter.
That's a false equivalency right there.
But like in terms of politically driven ideologies, one is
industrial fan to someone and throw them into
one is super far right, but the other is super literally the creators of it are like, we are Marxists. We give marching orders of Marxism to
Tanner,
our
as much as I like you, I cannot walk this line with you.
So it's just on record. So I mean,
but the KKK
Marxism itself,
the KKK,
Black Lives Matter.
I'm not saying they're the same. I'm saying they're both politically driven ideologies that have an agenda. Mm-hmm. One is far right and the other is far left, and I don't align to either of them.
You're drawing an equivalency by saying that. You know that.
So by taking
it doesn't matter.
This is actually
I could say Occupy Wall Street and Tea Party. They're two different things, but I didn't really support either of them. They both were
your issue is with ideologues. It isn't so much what the position is.
Agree. The ideologue is a problem. The collective group identity thinking is a problem. That's my issue.
So I said black movements. I didn't list one.
Yeah.
My point being is that if you
string me up, I don't know.
If you believe in a black movement, you can believe in one without being black as well. Well, my point was right.
Sure. There's amazing hip hop movements. That was a black-driven movement. Jazz is a black-driven movement.
I would have gone with Rip Loose get into good trouble or something.
I was talking about the civil rights movement, but
Well, okay, yes,
but
I felt that needed to. I feel that needed to be.
The civil rights movement was. I don't want to say it succeeded because obviously they're still working to get to a degree of equality. But that was signed into effect by a white guy.
Right.
The civil rights.
Yeah, who used the N-word constantly, but we'll ignore that.
LBJ was a Southern Democrat. This is the setup. So I think when people on the left mostly, state we want allyship, but we want a silent allyship. You should be there, but not contribute.
I guess I just support the sovereign individual. If you're black or if you're white, and for whatever your cause is, if it's just to you, I don't want it to be for. Is there I said, an ideologue an ideology that is dangerous, whether it's far left or far right.
Yeah, but
Like, I don't-
even it is safe to say though that a far left ideal is, you know, universal equity, universal equality. We want people to be treated effectively the same across the board.
Would you see the problem is how do you facilitate that?
Oh, it
Like-
could
like-
be we want everyone to be treated like slime, or alternatively we want everyone to be treated like saints. The whole point is it's pursuing a standardization of people's value, worth, equity, whatever.
Mhm.
Now, conversely, the far right embraces a more exclusionary approach. So it's
Yeah.
while one preaches inclusivity, you see more of that sort of exclusionary, like white Protestants are better than white Catholics,
Is
or
that inclusivity? See, an argument from the right might be that inclusivity would have to come via force. It would have to be. It would have to be you.
so
There has to be some application of it at some point to force those people that want to be inclusive.
So two
I think you have the
questions on
right
that.
to literally be inclusive. I'm not inclusive. Exclusive. I'm sorry. I used the wrong one. I swapped them in my head. This wine.
So,
You have the right to exclude yourselves or other people, and this is where we would get into the part of life. You have the right to not bake the cake. That's my opinion. So if we want to get now, we're going. This is getting way off my original point, but you know, you have the right to exclude one. You have the right to deny service. That's just me in my.
so that's you're taking a social position and justifying it with an economic reason,
Fair.
which is not always the case because very frequently you have social positions which can only be answered with social responses. So, for instance, when we say like, oh, the KKK is a far right group, sure, the Tea Party is a far right group. Arguably,
I would disagree with the term far right. Like we're talking
far is a subjective term. It is far from the center, and it is far from mainstream conservatism. When you go through and say we are budget hawks and we will not increase the deficit at any point in time, that's different than saying we will increase our deficit because we're going to give more to the military-industrial complex.
Yes, those are two very. One is a conservative notion. One is very much not a conservative notion.
We will not. So which one?
And a true conservative would want less spending, and that's across the board. Even military is up for debate.
A true fiscal conservative.
True fiscal conservative. Sorry.
Yes.
Sure, which-
So what about true
that's
social
a problem with
conservatives?
our language though too, right? So when you say conservative and we say liberal or whatever,
Sure.
it is,
In my head, I know a true conservative is
we're-
fiscal and
we're-
fiscally sound, responsible in nature. So for
we're
me, it's like, oh, it
confound-
doesn't need to be said.
but we're
I
confounding
forget.
those things.
Yes, it needs to be said.
Yes.
But like-
fiscal conservatism, you can have a discussion around. I mean, I disagree with it, but you can look and say like,
Well,
okay,
good day, sir.
I see the point.
but
I
I
see
can
the
see
point.
the point
Yes.
and argument for it. I raise issue with people who are socially conservative, and they're like, I don't think this is a person, and it's like, whoa,
That's rough.
there's no real coming back from
Oof.
that.
That's
Or
a-
alternatively,
That's an oof, bro.
See, I
This
guess
is-
there's just
that's
extremes.
an
I guess
oof.
there's just extremes.
but that's
Okay,
that was my point.
so I guess there's just extremes of social conservatism then, because when you said social conservatism and jumped right away with I'm going to acknowledge this person is not a human being.
That
That's
they do
super
not
far.
deserve human
Right, that's
human
super
rights.
far. Where
That super farness though is what you do constantly when you talk about the left though. is what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say.
not everyone
right,
on the
right,
left
right.
is, you know,
right, I understand you're doing what I get. It. I totally am on board, but I would say that there's social conservatism that isn't so terrible, like so
like-
such as.
Like fuck cuties.
fuck cuties, yeah.
So that would be
Be-
one that I still don't see. Fucking the director in Netflix just got indicted in Texas.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
because they said it was puerile, I think, or something
forgot
stating
what
that it was a sexualization of children. And I'm like, really, Texas? You're the ones who have a problem with that? You guys fucking parade little white girls on like Miss Texas pageants.
Right,
Or,
exactly.
like-
Right?
So a social conservative would argue. I'm not saying I am one, guys. I'm not on board with this. I'm just debating from the side.
Although you did hate cuties.
I did hate cuties, but I'm doing sense. So
Clearly, you hate French people.
I hate the French. This.
You want
this
some
is not
fucking
Bordeaux.
freedom
This
fries
is
right
not
now.
Bordeaux.
We are freedom fries.
Freedom fries and cap sabs.
I ain't eating that escargot. So, social conservatives would debate that marriage obviously, I'm not saying there's a religious
Here we
tie
go.
between the man and the woman.
No,
I'm not.
this
This
is
is not me. I
Yeah,
am.
but this is a good exercise. for us.
I'm just debating. I'm presenting the argument from what they would say if someone were sitting here doing it. Should not be. That should just be. Well, I guess the libertarian approach would be the government shouldn't be involved whatsoever at all.
Which is where I find myself in a libertarian position.
Yeah, it should be a private contract between two consenting adults. There shouldn't be anything with the government. But
So you don't think taxes should be affected?
So that's
the tax whole thing should go away with it too.
I agree with that.
Yep,
Yes.
I think that's the one that we're all kind of in agreement for.
Yeah.
That if someone wants to get married, you should keep the government out of it, and there shouldn't be any added.
The perks go too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Still tax them individually.
Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
I agree.
So.
But that is the issue that the.
But my point. My final point was just that they would say they don't want to blanket across the nation. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that I know it's not exactly 50-50, but let's say it's 70-30. 70% of the country is for gay marriage and fine with gay people getting married, and 30% are just not with it. I understand the argument. Just don't marry.
Don't get gay married.
Don't get gay married. I am on board. I agree on saying things.
That's
But
kind
the
of a
argument,
libertarian
I agree.
Exactly.
But their argument would be you should leave it to the state level because the practice the 10th Amendment, because the people of Alabama don't want gay marriage to be a thing as far as the government is concerned. Right. The people of Alabama should have their voice heard. As much as we disagree with the people of Alabama, they should have their representatives that they voted in should have their voices heard and not just suppressed by majority. Because at that point,
but they are still being suppressed by a majority in the state of Alabama.
In the state of Alabama,
because
exactly.
you're still. We'll even bring this to a microcosm level in the state of Alabama, and it's 70.
By the way, I don't even know if Alabama is. They could have voted yes for it, but whatever.
Who knows? But
let's straw man it first.
Yeah. So sorry, Alabama. I guess roll tide. So when you have that position. You're like, that said, I'm with you. You shouldn't get tax benefits for being married. Mm-hmm. And I do think that a marriage is a religious act, which any church can be like, you know what, I don't want to go and hold this ceremony for you. And then they could deny it to a straight couple, a gay couple, to anyone, because it's
you're okay. So you're on board
act.
with don't bake the cake. You don't have to bake the cake.
No, because that is an economic. So again, we're still moving social issues with economic positions. Okay.
But if you bring it down to the most libertarian purist,
but he's doing it not for an economic purpose. He's denying them for a social reason.
Sure.
So his position was
he's taking an economic hit, but that's on him.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
So he has the ability to say, I don't want to bake you a cake for, or I don't want to bake you a wedding cake.
But the argument would be, they don't. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, you don't have. They don't have a right to somebody's labor.
Which is the point.
Sure.
Like, that is something everyone generally agrees with. I'm not going to say, Tanner,
I
want you to
we're going to sue you.
Do all of my yard work.
Hold on, Tanner, though. But the state doesn't.
Okay. I'm not in.
I want to go back to the state's rights argument, though, because the state doesn't have the right to say this church cannot give the license to gay married two people together. Yeah. Because
that should be up to the church at that point.
That church should have exactly. So any pure libertarian point of view would be the closer you get to the individual, the better, right?
And almost to us in any scenario.
Right. So the individual church should have the right to marry two people together, regardless of the state of Alabama says.
Agreed.
That's
Separation of church and state. I'm bored with this.
Which is where the piece is kind of there. The confounding issue with this, or compounding issue with this, is we have tax benefits and true benefits within marriage.
Legal protections is the big one. More than taxes is the protection.
Okay, so we don't. If we were to
if you strip those out, then it doesn't fucking matter.
But you're right though. We already have mechanisms to strip them out through civil unions and through whatever. What's the statute that allows you to have access to your partner after 9 years or whatever it is?
Oh, it's like when you lived with them for so long, right?
Like live-in partner or marriage. Common law marriage. That's the one. Thank you.
Hand fastings, the pagan way, the Wiccan way.
Sure, exactly. but yeah. So you have access to your partner's medical records.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know if it's legally recognized by the law, but yeah, they bound their hands like this, and then they wrap it, and then they do a.
I'm saying
you can unbound
But the protection I'm talking about, like having access to your loved one's medical records, or having access to the
I'd like to see what
de
HIPAA's
facto
views are on HIPAA.
de facto authority over their care. That's what I think. If we're married, you become incapacitated in an accident, I'm in charge of your care because I become the de facto authority for it.
Whereas states which do not recognize it would be like, no, it goes to your parents.
Exactly.
And you could have been excommunicated.
Okay, so if there's so much.
Rights.
Okay, so maybe I picked the top of gay marriage as being a very economically influenced decision.
This is very different than toxic masculinity, where we started, by the way.
I do want to go back to. I think we're all in agreement that while you are not entitled to people's labor, we need to strip all of the economic benefits out of it.
It legitimately has nothing to do with our starting topic. Yeah. We're so far off.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right. I'm gonna just move to the other point in your position for it, which was about servicemen and the statistics about men in the military.
Yes. Okay. I'm just bringing up statistics.
Yep. So I at least know the Army. I don't know Coast Guard or other branches of the military had actual guidelines to prohibit women from serving in active combat roles. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not surprised that most of the bodies in Arlington are men.
There was something
they had guidance that did not put women in combat roles.
Right, but there was something they didn't.
Let me look at it before I say something dumb. To a limited degree.
What was the term for that? There was a term for that. It was not the angel law or rule, whatever. There's a rule that was designed to avoid combat situations for a female.
Admittedly, I don't know off the top of my head for it.
If anyone in chat knows that, please.
Yeah, please let us know.
Please let us know.
But that is sort of the case that the armed services for centuries prohibited women for it. So in the Civil War, women weren't on the front lines because they were banned from it. There were times when women had to actually present as men to serve, and that there are times
Mulan.
Yeah.
So the Marine Corps in 2018 dropped the major obstacle during the boot camp for women.
2018.
Sure. 2 years.
2 years ago.
So it's 2 years.
It's still recent history. It's still a policy. It's in effect now. So they dropped the women. Well, they dropped.
How long has the USMC been in possession?
No, that's not my point. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is because women couldn't complete the obstacle course to be in they just couldn't do it.
Oh, you mean they removed the physical obstacle on the obstacle course?
They dumbed it down so that women could complete it in time. And is that
Left Right Cab does not support the use of the term dumb and fit women in the same sentence. Just want to put that out there.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get eaten alive. So
yep.
Choose your words more wisely. No, fuck you. So, but that's my they dumbed it down. Not using change. They dumbed it down to
they simplified it. I think
oh my God, whatever. So
it made it more accessible.
Sure, and so but if
it presents a whole other question as to the fitness.
If you can't pull this weight of these sandbags or whatever that represent the full weight of a male comrade, then should you be even trying out for this role?
Hold on, you're literally sandbagging this conversation by saying that. Is that actually the case? Is that an example of what they changed? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to use that example, is it actually that example? Or is it
I guess there's a difference between they made the wall they had to mount
exactly
2 feet lower,
whatever, right? Yeah. But I can see the argument for in combat you need this skill, right?
In live combat roles, you need to be able to deadlift 300 pounds.
Sure, which is a lot. Most combat people are not going to be 300 pounds. Oh, maybe with their packs or something.
That's what I'm saying. A fully geared person, maybe.
But assuming you can cut their packs off relatively easy,
sure,
right? But yes, 300 pounds.
Yeah. So if they're saying
not deadlift, fireman's carry, obviously.
As you can tell, I go to the gym a lot.
The fireman's carry. The fireman's carry is a shoulder and under the chest.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's I think the other question you should have presented though.
One of it was one of the things they changed was the combat endurance test.
Okay.
And 14 women attempted it, and only one passed it, but walked away with it with fractures in her foot.
But what's the parameters though? Sorry.
What is the?
I just feel like the specifics kind of matter in this situation because
so one of the tasks they took away was having Marines hike miles with combat loads weighing 80 pounds or more to complete the obstacle course. So hiking miles with 80 pounds on their back.
Sure.
And including a 20-foot rope, scaling a 20-foot rope multiple times and getting over an 8-foot bar. These are things they changed.
So these are more obstacle-based, I think, is what it seems like.
So
My only point being is you literally brought up a specific about
Sure.
carrying a 300-pound man away or whatever the hell it is. Sure. And if that's not part of it, then it's like kind of like a misnomer to say that as an example. Again, not putting it down to say that, but I'm just saying like that to me as a viewer would say, yeah, of course. You know, if you need to carry a comrade, you should be able to carry a comrade to some extent, drag or whatever you have to do. If you can't do that, then maybe that we should question your capacity.
I would
and
just
role.
like to state for the record, I'm all for women being in infantry.
Sure.
Because if they're not in infantry, then I gotta be in infantry, and I am not gonna carry all that stuff for running away screaming.
Sure. So
I trust them.
One of the
I'm
positions
talking on a macro level, right? Is like
Yeah.
if they remove things that
Also for trans in the military, I'm for that, and that's one thing I'm against. Trump.
absolutely.
One thing I'm against Trump on is if you're willing to serve the country and die for, I don't care what you call yourself.
Just do it.
Don't care.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, because otherwise you're calling me to go to front line. And
Sure.
no.
I don't
So
wanna do it.
All of a sudden,
you're
I am
skirting-
religious. I'm not an atheist anymore. I believe in God, and I'm a religious
So,
objector. I'm
you're-
taking the Muhammad Ali approach.
You're skirting a point which I feel is probably the more egalitarian one that we should be taking. Selective service in the draft.
I'm against the draft.
But only men are in a position to be drafted.
Women can't be drafted, right?
Yeah. However, for men to get financial aid, you have to sign up for the draft.
Yes.
Women do not get that benefit, or do not have that responsibility.
So both you're saying.
So I guess the question.
Both sides should agree that it should be equal.
Yeah.
Like Israel. Bring it back to a few weeks ago.
Seriously, so the IDF
I kinda
in
like-
Israel
I kind of
is
understand
compulsory service for everyone.
2 years, right?
Yeah.
There's European countries that do it too, right?
Yeah, I think like Switzerland and
How
Is it
convenient?
France?
How
I thought
convenient?
France does. You
doesn't.
sure?
Not to be too American about this, but how convenient is it that these fucking liberal ass countries who never fight in wars?
Israel is a liberal country.
The
No,
most.
it's not.
Yeah.
Netanyahu is the most.
Netanyahu is a criminal.
He's a criminal.
So-
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just playing devil's advocate by saying that.
Oh, I'm not.
I'm joking.
Netanyahu is a criminal.
But yeah.
So continuing to the last point, I think that you
Toxic
had,
masculinity.
No, actually, I think we've all kind of dug that one down. The Cayman Foundation, the pink ribbons.
Oh right.
So the Cayman Foundation, you should really look at the statistics about them for how much actually even goes to breast cancer research. They are a fucking corporation, and that said, their marketing and PR is phenomenal. So when you see that pink ribbon, you know exactly what the fuck it means. I knew that the blue ribbon was for prostate cancer, but I don't think most people would see that. They'd be like, "What's that for? Leukemia, diabetes?"
Right. So I guess goes to my
So
core
it's-
point.
it's
Do
their
we
brand.
do we men really have it as good if our the thing that's wiping us out the most isn't even being talked
Well,
about?
Heart disease.
Okay.
No,
One
wait,
of
wait,
the
wait.
things. Man, you guys hacking away my words.
No, I think
One-
heart disease is second, right? Isn't it? Hold on.
Pretty sure it's heart disease is the number one killer in the U.S.
I think it's second. Hold on. I'll look it up. Keep talking.
Quick, go to your laptops and find out.
Says women are the number one killer of men. Heart disease.
I thought ourselves were.
Heart disease.
So,
Don't worry. On this chart, number 3 is unintentional injuries. You know what that means?
Suicide.
Falling off of ladders.
All I'm
While
saying
we're
is-
cleaning the
all
gutters.
I'm saying is
Yeah.
prostate cancer is not even on the list.
Which
is breast cancer? on
It's
the
heart
list?
disease, cancer,
Oh, so
It's-
cancer
it's-
is an
it-
all-encompassing thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the number one leading male cancer, I believe, is prostate cancer.
unintentional injuries is
I think
third.
it'd be colon.
Stroke is fourth.
Because prostates you generally just remove.
Pulmonary diseases are the fourth or fifth.
Lungs.
Diabetes, influenza.
Look at this is so great.
Suicide's pretty far down, more than I thought it would.
Unintentional injuries, literally
Is
falling
it
off
really
of
falling
ladders.
off a ladder?
Falling off. Well, it has to be unintentional because you go up there cleaning the gutters. And you know why you're cleaning up the gutters? Because your wife told you to go clean the gutters. So
Also,
women,
the indirect cause of
women
it.
are the third reason. Why? Oh no, testicular cancer is up there too.
Left Right Cab is not an official sponsor of misandrist politics.
Right
Or
here. Men are more likely to die from a fall. It's really on one of the things.
But that said, to circle back to the pink ribbon and why the NFL is required for it, because the Cayman Foundation is
Was it
truly
actually a requirement?
corporation.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was required.
Yeah, it's like emblazoned on all their jerseys.
They were
I don't know if
forced.
it's Reebok that has it. He does their jerseys.
They were forced to put these on them.
It's not really a matter of force. It's here are your
jerseys.
Wear them. Oh look, it has
Sure.
it.
That's more than
not
I
like
thought. But like, who the
I'm
fuck,
not anti
who the fuck
spreading
is
awareness about breast
breast-
cancer.
yeah,
I'm not
For sure.
for it.
But no,
I'm
like,
just
but the
I'm just
concern is
calling.
that it's not an equal representation of
So you're
gender
it's not,
specific.
it's not egalitarian. It's like you said earlier.
Yeah.
It's not
It's not
egalitarian.
an egalitarian approach. So when it comes down to it, though, we have a corporation. I mean, the JDRF, I think, does a much better job for it for juvenile diabetes. Hashtag look up, donate, walk, do stuff for diabetes.
Sure.
But the Cayman Foundation, I think they also do like for a cure is they've copyrighted that and sue companies for using that. Like the Cayman Foundation,
That's
is
a legal right
atrocious.
to do that, right?
To copyright the phrase "for a cure."
Got milk, whatever. I can't use the words got milk
James
because
Cameron-
Nike's gonna or whatever. or
James
milk
Cameron made Got Milk, by the way.
or just whatever.
Seriously?
I can't use it. You know,
But,
just
yeah.
do it. I can't put just do it on my shirt because
Sure.
Nike's gonna come out. I literally okay. So I
copyright law
got
is
Disney.
where it's-
No, wait. I lied. Sorry.
Disney.
Addendum. I meant Michael
Came
Bay.
to me
Michael
with
Bay.
a-
Michael Bay made Just Milk. I want you to know that. I
You
was
got a
wrong.
Cease and desist from Disney?
I got a cease and desist.
You
from
did?
Disney.
For
yes.
what?
For my shop because we had
Tanner runs a magic shop.
yes, I own a comic store, and we printed out like a bunch of like bumper stickers. One was like our company logo, but then like other things like you could do. We had the TARDIS from Doctor Who. We had,
Sure.
but we had was it Disney?
Marvel?
It had to be Disney. It was
Probably Marvel on it.
it was I forgot what it was, but we had like the Deathly Hollows. We had something, whatever it was. Disney was like, no, like somebody took a picture of our shop and it was in the photo. Went online, someone that repped Disney saw it, contacted me. It was like, you cannot sell this pre-made sticker that you made at home and sell it with our. I don't think it was Deathly. Disney doesn't own Harry Potter.
No. So
I can't
I'm
remember
surprised
what
it's not
exactly-
Marvel, because that would have probably been the one that triggered them.
It might have been a Marvel. I don't feel like it was a Marvel thing, but.
When I
Anyways,
yeah.
so I just got rid of them. Like, okay, fine, Disney. Like,
that when I moved back to, as a quick aside, we're gonna go to break shortly. When I moved back to Connecticut, I started working at a webcomic company, and one of their most glorious achievements that they ever received was a framed cease and desist letter from the estate and ex-wife of Biggie Smalls,
neat.
because a print of theirs had Biggie with a map saying, because it's where Brooklyn at, they were like, no, fuck you, you can't say this. So they actually fought them for a little bit because they're like, no, this is clearly a joke.
This was Dinosaur Comics, right?
So
It
to
was-
go back
it was-
to your
it was a-
corporation, but to go back.
It was a company in, at the time, East Hampton. I think they moved to
It was a
Northampton,
collective
Mass.
of comics, though, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
you
it
might
was
not
Topodica
agree with the
and
politics of that company you're talking about, but they have the right to trademark a phrase, right?
The question, where Brooklyn at?
No. The breast cancer company
For a cure.
for a
Yeah.
cure.
So if I want to say that I want to walk for a cure,
It should-
I should be sued for copyright infringement. I would like to raise money for a cure.
So
I would like
there's
to raise
law.
money for a cure. For
There's
COVID.
law about this.
There is. It's like express intent and like
Well,
what
no,
you're
no,
actually
no,
doing
no.
for it.
Even more so, there's a law about patenting common phrases. Which is
Yeah,
like,
typically you can't.
you can't exactly.
However, for a cure was deemed not a common phrase and part of their branding. So point
That's
being is
obviously a misrepresentation of the law, I
I support breast cancer research. I support donating money to all cancer research things, but fuck the Komen Foundation, and we may get flack for me saying that. So I apologize in advance.
I just want to say that Left Right Cab is all in support for boobies and booby research and booby care,
And testicular research as well.
and testicular research and care and support.
Balls.
We like balls and tits. That's what we're trying to say here.
All right, we're gonna go on a break. We'll be back with more crazy, fun discussions. With then following up with our lightning round. Thanks for watching us so far. We'll be right back.
Peace. We're live again.
I love the.
We're live, by the way.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no. We're just gonna talk like we're just flowing in. You ruined my flow.
Yeah.
I was looking at that. I love that. It says, "What is toxic masculinity?" Let's acknowledge that we barely talked about it. Like in last segment, it just derailed so quickly.
I had to throw something up.
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine. Male privilege, toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
So I want to say that in the time when we were talking, Dixie Wolf threw in how our conversation was relevant to Supreme Court and the floating idea of repealing gay marriage.
I guess from a libertarian perspective, I'm okay with the repeal of gay marriage, and it's just because I think the government should be out of gay marriage. So just let it.
You want what you're really saying is you want the repeal of marriage.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Heterosexual, straight marriage, and gay marriage. Absolutely.
Yes. I
think
agree.
We're all in agreement. So long, my position is
Cool. So you're going Joe Jorgensen.
Tanner and I were
So
talking
like
Repeal
about
marriage.
Just Joe Jorgensen libertarian, right? Because
No,
on board now, right?
that's the one topic in which I agree.
And guns? So
What?
aren't you pro, or was it you
No,
that said?
I'm the one that's slightly
Deregulate?
more pro Second Amendment.
I'm not pro to it. I just I think Second Amendment for liberals, I think the Second Amendment conversation is kind of a distraction.
You think it's not as big of an issue as it's made out to be? It's like something. It's just it's an no. Is it numbing?
The NRA is a massive lobbying group that's designed to make money in fervor.
Sure.
So like gun sales skyrocket when
From my cold dead hand.
So,
But I
when
think if
people go through
you're a
it's-
band of statistics, though, you look at a place that doesn't have guns legally, and they have certainly way less gun deaths. I mean, that's certainly
sure, but violent
drastically
crime
higher.
isn't significantly different.
yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Look at
No.
Japan, absolutely.
Yeah, suicide rate's off the charts.
That's
So
not violent crime. though.
it's a violent death, but it's.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no.
saying,
But violent crime.
I'm gonna
your-
go back to-
your
I'm gonna go back
knife-
to suicide.
Knife crimes in Australia.
I'm gonna go back to
England
suicide
are
is not a
out
crime.
Of this
baseball
world.
bats as well.
Suicide is not a crime for me, though. So
I know. I'm just using that.
Yeah,
I was just joking
but
myself.
when-
But I'm
when
talking
you're
about your
looking
knife
at
crime.
assault battery charges, they go up.
they don't. But it's not equivalence, though.
No, it's not stating
It's
that
much,
for
much,
every
it's much
5
easier to
gun
kill
deaths
someone
that
with a
they
gun
go.
than a knife. Everyone knows
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's
Which is what I want to do if someone is is threatening my life or my
Sure,
personal
sure,
property
whatever.
or my family.
My-
Not whatever. That's important.
No,
It's
whatever.
It's the escalation of force issue.
It's a detraction from my point. My point isn't even that. My point is that in this country, in its current state of how we're arguing about guns rights, it's not beneficial to anybody.
Sure, because I think
I don't
right,
think there should even be an argument. It's just
so there's
none. Like literally none.
I'm saying there's a philosophical argument to be had. We're not having it right now, so it's not. Why even bother?
So you're
with it?
saying that it should be up for debate, but we're not having the right debate about it.
No, we're talking about AR-15s over.
Yeah, like people are saying, oh, we have to ban bump stocks. It's
Yeah,
like,
whatever. Like, no, very
this
too
is a
specific.
moot fucking issue.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like arguing over fucking straws. Like it doesn't matter.
Honestly, in truth, the only regulation.
So are you pro prohibition of just at anything?
Of what?
Are you not prohibition of alcohol?
Sure.
Are you prohibition of drugs?
No.
Okay. Are you prohibition of guns?
I'm prohibition of murder.
But you're never gonna stop murder.
But-
Like it's just murder's
But
gonna has
that doesn't mean
existed.
that you can't. Should we just abolish all laws that regulate
Murder.
murder?
Exactly.
No, it's not. No, it's not that. It's just before guns were invented, murder plagued every city and town in mankind's history.
That's a
People
so
just
what?
used
Okay.
knives. People used whatever
And?
weapon they
Yeah,
used.
so what?
but
They
your
used the
position-
technology at the time.
So
But-
that thank you. Your position is.
But 4-inch blades are illegal in Connecticut. You know,
Sure.
Shit, I've got a machete. Does that mean I'm gonna get it?
you can't carry it in public. If you drove it home, you actually broke the law. That's how
I actually had it shipped to me in the U.S. Postal Service.
Madeline's brother got arrested at Yukon in a farm vehicle. He works, their family farm. He has farm plates on it. The cop was looking for a reason to arrest him. Essentially, they without a warrant went through his car because they said they saw a handle in the back of his car, and they pulled out this rusty, clearly used for farming machete, and they arrested him for it.
Sure, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I agree. In the same way that I think that is, if that statue exists, then like
So so if they found a semi-automatic weapon, should he be arrested? I mean, like, what if he's not using it for murder?
Sure.
It's just
So
sitting there.
Was the grounds? Now that said, I do think
You
that
have to
he
commit
shouldn't
the
have been
crime with the
arrested.
tool. a pencil can kill someone.
Yeah.
A pencil's a weapon if you use it
You're
right.
right. I mostly agree with you. But what are you going to say? Sorry.
So the dilemma but the added layer of sort of variance, I guess, that's included into it is where he was arrested.
In a parking lot
on a public school campus.
Yes.
There you go. You cannot bring any arms onto a public school in the state of Connecticut.
But that's not the law that was cited, though. The law was...
Yeah, the cop's an asshole. That doesn't make the fact that he still broke the law place.
Sure.
Now, that said, should you be charged for a law, or
I worked at a dining hall that had butcher knives, they had those. I used those.
So that's my point. And that goes back to Tanner's question about, or point of intent.
I think what we're all dancing around is the extremity of the enforcement of said law.
Sure.
Like, should a person who has, randomly has a gun in their car and has not used it and it's put away and they have license for it, whatever the fuck it is,
public and all
should they be held accountable for having that gun on their person? Not necessarily, obviously. I think
you should have the right to own it.
So fun question. Gun-free zones.
Ridiculous concept.
What do you mean? In what way? Sorry. Qualify.
Okay, so when universities or
if you have
wasn't there a military base that did it too? A military base. So
it was Fort Hood.
Fort Hood. That's right. Fort Hood. We're gonna be a gun-free zone. Is the stupidest thing because it's literally, to me, advertising to people saying we are not armed. Come get us. I think it's the stupidest concept.
But flip side of that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you own property,
yeah,
are you not allowed to mandate what is allowed on that property?
It's your property, sure.
So you could say anyone carrying a weapon is no longer allowed on this campus or whatever it is, or this lot. If you come to my private property and you own a weapon, you have to leave that weapon off my property, or you're not welcome.
Sure. And respecting the private property right.
But I think that's kind of the argument, I think, where it's like, if you have...
The difference is that there's a stark difference between public property and private property.
But military bases run the middle ground of that, where they're public in the sense that they're government-owned, but they're private in the sense that they have their own mandate.
They have the right to be a gun-free zone. I think it's ideologically stupid.
Sure.
I think it's not safe. I think more people are at risk if you aren't allowed.
Frankly, I find it funny. How does an active military base engage themselves as a gun-free zone?
But also, the statistics of this too. A good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. That's kind of
which is a falsehood.
Huge falsehood. Exactly. We all know that, right?
Yeah. The numbers do show that the good guy with a gun myth, or the good guy with a gun position,
is a myth. Yeah.
Wildly overstated.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sure, but I would think there's validity to say that if you were to do a blanket gun ban, that if you, who's cutting off who?
Australia did this though.
So there's a position that you can state that a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun. The NRA has said that for years.
Yeah,
bullshit. But there is the position of
Australia.
Guns about being a gun owner to serve as a deterrent, which I think is where the argument should go. Anyone could be in that position to say there's a gun in this house.
So before I make this point, so it's kind of a moot argument now that I think about it, but I think, are we all willing to say that there will never be a blanket gun ban in the United States of America?
Yep.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, we can all agree. I think we all agree that.
At least not in the near future.
Sure.
I could see the Trump administration or any extremist administration.
So you say Donald Trump's going to ban guns?
I think that it will be.
He hasn't been the most conservative on gun policy.
No, definitely not.
Especially
Obama was probably equally conservative, at least, if not more so.
So I think when it comes to any government or any administration in the U.S. prohibiting or banning guns outright, it'll be a government or an administration that is trying to maintain power through a transition.
Asymmetric power to the state or the
which is
level.
Truly the libertarian fear of you need these guns to prevent the oppressive state from doing that.
Right.
And I think
a well-maintained militia.
Yes. Agreed. But so if we're the argument Wright would make is if I know they use the good. I know you put the stupid fly up on the screen, but obviously good guys are going to prevent bad guys with guns. I get okay, fine, but if there is a blank, which we already acknowledged, probably is not going to be a blanket gun ban, but if there was a gun ban, that prohibition does not stop the bad guys from getting their hands on the goods. You see this with drugs. You saw it with alcohol and the rum runners. They
not
get
initially, right? Because in Australia, a criminal. What was a criminal?
There's still guns being smuggled into Australia.
Sure, but they're at such a low rate. There is a statistical difference.
If we want drug-related crime to go down, and put those cartels out of business
overnight.
You legalize it and say, "Oh, now the money's going to be through."
Here's the difference.
Go
private business and
between you
the
and
state.
I,
The state would be
Tanner,
a better way to.
Here's where there's an issue with
you run them out of business. I'm like, okay, now what?
Here's my
Did you say that the state can solve a problem?
Yeah, by loosening regulation.
Separately,
the state can solve the problem by removing regulation
and then subsequently establishing themselves as a distributor of that.
I would rather leave it to the free market and the
But anyways,
but
enterprise run it would be able to influence to position themselves as a distributor in that private market. The state of Washington had state-run.
Hold on.
State-run, yes, I know. So you can do that. I know. We'll back up it for you. Yes, go.
I want to walk back just a second real quick because you're talking about like crime essentially and like the state sponsorship of crime a little bit. But what you're really talking about is like
the state is a crime.
You moved from gun violence or gun crime or gun ownership to drug crime ownership.
I was just tying in the idea of prohibition.
But guns have an inherent violence to their existence where drugs don't. That's where I find issue.
You think more people die from drugs or guns?
Dying is not what I'm talking about. Violence is not dying. Dying is not violence. Violence is the perpetration of something on somebody else, right? And guns, by their definition, by their existence, are a weapon to use against somebody else.
Now, the social conservative, I'm not in the sense. The social conservatives say the selling of the drug to the individual is an act of violence to them because they're hurting themselves
on it.
That's not my stance, but that would be the social conservative.
But a gun has no other point except for to attack.
Disagree.
Or sport, I guess.
I agree.
Defense,
to attack.
not attack. But defend.
Sure, but
you're being the aggressor.
But to inflict, whether it's in defense or in aggression, the gun is designed to inflict.
Yeah. So to enforce
drugs can exist without violence. Guns cannot. That's my point.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't think I do either. Actually.
What do you mean?
So objects have no intention.
Oh my God! Here we go.
No, like in truth, drugs
in their intention, in the intention of having a gun.
Yes, you own a gun.
There's three intentions. I think there's three intentions. One of them is nonviolent, and that's sport, right? But defense,
like sharpshooting.
But defense or offense are both aggressive acts. They're both violence in their own merit.
One preserves life, though.
Statistically not.
No, you don't have to necessarily. You can wing them.
Statistically,
you can kneecap them.
Okay.
Kneecap them.
The amount of
statistically
that doesn't happen.
Having a gun makes you more likely to die.
Yes. Having a gun in your home makes you more likely to die.
More likely to die.
Either through self-inflicted wounds.
But should you deny that person? Maybe a person feels safer with it. You deny them that individual right because you have an interpretation of what
safety is not a right.
Not a right granted by the state, but granted by the sovereign individual. It's your right to feel safe in your own home.
What governs
you're more personal rights? So you're more like.
It doesn't need to be a document to do it. That's an intrinsic value.
There is no intrinsic values. I'm going to take this nihilistic approach.
Here we go.
Okay.
There are no intrinsic values to anything. No one has a right to life, liberty, safety, whatever.
I want to walk back this though a little bit.
But we all just said you have the right to die how you want. You have the right to death. So at that point,
you have the right to choose because that is.
We were both on you, and then now it came to me.
Yeah. So Tanner, I see you doing this thing, and I don't want to encourage this, where you're like looking back at both of us because we're both kind of like having. I don't agree with Travis on this. I'm really specifically talking about statistics, right?
Yeah.
And you have cited statistics many times on the show, so I know you're a fan of them. Statistically speaking, having a gun in your home without any other parameters applied to it makes you more likely to die from a home invasion because you presenting a violent response incurs a violent response.
I also know statistically, I'll give you this, I'll concede this point. If someone's coming into my home, I understand they did not walk into my home with the intention of murder. They walked into my home with the intention to get my TV or my PlayStation.
You go down with a gun, they are in the defensive position.
Yeah.
Whether or not you agree that that's defensive, they now see you as a threat, and if they have a gun, they want to stop you from killing them. Like again, I agree with you that it's an invasion of your self, of your sovereignty, for sure.
See, right? Theoretically, they are the aggressor.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
In the macro perspective,
most court of laws would acknowledge that as.
I'm not in no way am I disagreeing with that. I'm saying in their personal purview, they see you come downstairs with a gun. Are they more likely to shoot you with a gun or without a gun?
What if I came out with a knife or a baseball bat? It's still a weapon. It's still a means of causing them bodily harm that used properly will end their life.
Which one's been more likely to happen from 10 feet or 20 feet away?
Yeah, I think to Jake's point that if you
the gun is providing me safety. The gun is providing me a distance to not.
You come down with a baseball bat, they have time to leave.
If I come down with a baseball bat, they can.
If someone comes down, so we'll say, Jake, you are breaking into Tanner's home.
You son of a bitch.
You have a gun.
I have a gun.
Tanner comes down with a baseball bat. You pull said gun and say, like,
why am
drop
I'm bringing a knife to a gunfight?
But that's the thing is you don't know he has a gun. He could just have nothing. But you come down with a baseball bat going like,
what's going on?
You, get out of my house.
See,
he pulls a gun on you and says, drop the bat, go away, like I'm taking your shit.
You're going to drop the bat.
It's an instrument. It is an instrument of force and power.
It's a power.
Whereas you come
wouldn't
down
I
with
want
a gun.
to take the police for so when I was talking.
No. I'm talking, Mr. Vice President.
Fine.
So, in that same position, you come down with a gun. If Jake in this situation is in possession of a gun, he's immediately drawing it on you, because that is the power is shifted to you having a drawn gun. So, to Jake's point of him being in a defensive position, would try to match that and would pull a gun on you.
Cool. I'd rather be the one in. I'd rather be a fair fight. If I'm not going to come down not into a fair fight.
The fair fight argument, I think, is
there's nothing fair about crime.
No. I'm not saying there's fair about crime, but I'm not going. If my life is of utmost importance to me,
then you don't go downstairs. For real though, I mean that. Seriously, that's the difference.
Okay, now here's a situation where there's houses where there's bedrooms upstairs and downstairs. And let's say that the child's bedroom is downstairs.
Of course, there's a billion. There's a billion specifics, but you said this earlier.
But this is a whole argument on specifics. Your specifics is he has to have a gun, and there's all these parameters where you're making it super specific to your example.
In like when I first introduced the idea, you agreed that the guy is there not to kill you, to steal your TV.
Statistically, yes, he's not there. He's not there to really commit murder on a stranger.
Right.
He's probably there to pay. He's probably there to pay some bills and steal some jewelry.
Obviously,
I get it.
Obviously, it happens for sure. But it's just like how we deal with exactly like terrorism or whatever. It's like the reduction of violence is the goal, right? So by bringing a gun downstairs, you're amplifying the violence. That's what Travis is trying to get.
No, I would say I am diminishing the violence, because if I were to remove him as a threat from society, I'm just saying.
But statistically, you're wrong.
I'm saying theoretically. This is a theoretical argument.
Theoretics don't matter when you're statistically wrong, though. You're statistically wrong that when you bring a gun downstairs, he's going to shoot at you or your family. That's just how it is.
If he has a gun, this is the specifics. If he has a gun, if he doesn't, I win. And so I'm willing to take that chance for the protection of my life and my family's life. I don't know if he's going to come upstairs after and start shooting at me and my wife and my kids. I don't know this. I'm not going to take the chance. I'm going to take the.
So, state of Connecticut, a few years ago, there was a prominent home invasion case in Cheshire.
But just one more thing, I don't want to lose on this, is if I'm actually diminishing violence, let's say if I don't stop him and I let him do his thing, he hits up 3, 4, 5 more houses, and then people do fight back, and he ends up assaulting them. And let's say he doesn't have a gun. Let's say he has a knife, and people did fight back, and they didn't have a gun, but he ends up stabbing them. Now people are dead. And I could have stopped that because I had a gun.
It's reinforcing that good guy with a gun.
But these are all hypotheticals. But you're
sure, but my saying, I'm not talking about hypotheticals. I'm literally talking about statistics, though. I'm not talking about a specific event.
No, but you gave the hypothetical if he has a gun. That's a hypothetical if he has a gun.
I guess, sure.
That's my whole thing. That part of
the assumption should be the person who's perpetrating the offense is the person who's most willing to give up his life for it. That's my point.
Yeah, if he wants to give his life up for TV, that's his risk. When he came into my home,
I'm saying he has more to lose than you do, or you have more to lose than he does. So therefore, your position of
I guess I'm taking you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you finish the last things.
he has more to lose than you do. So therefore, he is more likely.
So why does it have to be a he?
Wow.
They are more likely to. Come on. They are more likely to have more to lose than you do, because I think your average person, even the people of demographics and of backgrounds that you might abhor to whatever extent, or might think are more likely to have this background, people don't have an inherent desire to violate other people unless they're Republicans. Sorry. What I really want to say is like I don't think we're built to like take necessarily, not in the sense that like we want to invade and be against society. I think that to get to a point where you feel like you want to do that is a low point in your life, right?
I guess
I actually have a radical position on it. I think that is the sole drive of people,
To
consume, to do
take
things.
and consume are different things, though, right?
No, but it's effectively serving the same purpose.
Is it?
you would see that behavior in like when they
human nature.
We're really getting broad here. So
yeah,
Mike
I'm going
Pence,
to actually
right?
make it to. I'm going to move away from, gun violence or anything. And to bring it to a more philosophical position.
Mike Pence.
Flies on heads. So when people talk about like what is the purpose of life, what is the direction, or what is the drive behind people, the only one that I can think of is to reproduce and to assert your will on your environment, and really that's it. Yourself and the environment.
But that's certainly closer to what the nihilist perspective is, for sure.
Yeah, no, we've switched places here.
No, I don't disagree though. That's the thing.
Yeah. So when it comes down to you saying like,
I think
this
society
person doesn't
exists.
wanna-
I think society exists in exception to nihilism, not in lieu with it. Like it's like
I think society is so successful because people have just elected to
not
go
follow
against
their tendencies.
Sure. Yes.
Which
And
is
the
like-
role of
Do you
society is
think
to
that there's
perpetuate
any
that.
debate that to counter that, like maybe we explored the nihilistic approach, we explored where that rabbit hole leads, and it's not a good place, and it's not a place of, it's not a place of light, and it's a place of probably either darkness or struggles internally.
We didn't explore it to its extent because we're still here.
So I'm.
Ooh, I mean, ruling away the normalization of genocide. Let's take it to a position. Left-right genocide is that word.
There's three perspectives, right?
It's not far off. But when it comes down to it, that is always sort of the question that, the most recent existential thinker of note was during World War II in the 40s and arguably the 50s. Nihilism itself peaked in
Why am
the
I
20s.
blanking on the name?
What,
Who
Nietzsche?
started most French
Okay.
from
Nietzsche?
existentialists. Simone de Beauvoir as well.
Yeah.
That representation for it.
I mean, Nietzsche is.
She was far more brutal than both Camus and Sartre, which was actually pretty dope.
Well, Nietzsche is well
Nietzsche.
known for his nihilism and also existentialism.
And
it's
also
part of
his bizarre stance on eugenics.
Well,
and,
the Ubermensch, half the reason why he went crazy was because of the
syphilis.
yes, but also the
syphilis.
coercion of the Ubermensch as a Nazi propaganda bullshit, because he didn't agree with that. He didn't agree with Wagner. He didn't agree with Hitler. Obviously, he had his opinion. Nietzsche's opinion of the Ubermensch was more about like the betterment of man, and then seeing someone execute it in a way that was so abhorrent to him,
broke him.
along with his medical condition, broke him, and he went crazy and bit the ear off a horse or some shit, then died.
To go
naked in a horse
Stall.
Catherine the Great.
Yeah.
To go back to your point, though, has man explored these ideas and deemed them not, not the direction they want to go in?
I would say
Maybe.
yes, because that's the creation of religion.
You say
The-
yes.
uh, what- what-
you say
I would say
yes?
that I would say the opposite. That existentialism and nihilism is a result of religion. It's when you are raised, and I mean, Camus, Sartre, they all were. I don't know if they were Catholics, but they were Judeo-Christian.
Well, I'm just saying religion is
upbringing.
teaching
They're
the principle that
Abrahamic.
there's more
Yes,
to this world
but
than the metaphysical,
these
the
beliefs,
physical world.
This ideology was born out of World War I, World War II, and they're like, how can there be a God when man is capable of so much abhorrent actions?
Sure.
And to me, that speaks volumes of it, because I would say, like, good point. I don't think there's a God,
What if we roll
because if
back?
man is the ideal creation, we're capable of monstrous things, and if that's the case, God is equally as monstrous.
That's the Stephen Fry argument, pretty much,
Yeah.
essentially.
The bone
God,
spurs and kids.
if God exists, why are there insects that eat the eyes of children? You know.
Yeah, I think it's the Epicurean trilemma of, if God is omnipotent and omniamorous, why is there evil?
Right.
Is he
But couldn't you
powerful?
take it? I'm not saying, because obviously I've said on the show before that I'm
Yeah,
also
we're all
atheist.
atheists.
We're all atheists, but I gotta stick up some kind of devil's advocate argument here that you talk about the insects eating eyes of children.
What if those kids were Hitler?
No.
That predestiny bullshit is no one agrees.
It's
with
not that. No. It's
God works in mysterious
it
ways.
would be.
Are
It would be
we all Calvinists now?
the insect eating the eye is impartial to whose eye it's eating. It's just
Mhm.
nature, and it doesn't.
The hurricane doesn't ask.
Well, that's the
Right.
the
So
hopes
so
and dreams
so
of the
there's
people
no
it kills.
meaning behind the insect eating the
But
eye.
that invites the absurdity of which existentialism also kind of parallels. The absurdity of the universe. There is no rhyme or reason behind all of it. Bad shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the Stephen Fry argument.
And
That's where
bad
it stops.
being a subjective of what our brain framework can
Therefore-
interpret to be bad.
That's
As far as the
true.
universe is concerned, this is normal.
we
It's
are
not.
a
It's
blink-
not a bad or good. It's just a thing.
But
But
that
right?
then speaks to the nihilistic approach, and the cosmic scale of
But
things. Your
almost-
hopes and dreams, your worries, your struggles, largely indifferent to the entire
On a
universe.
macro scale,
works.
sure, largely
Yeah.
different.
So it's very difficult to say, like, oh, when we talk about God being all loving and insects eat the eyes of children, maybe that is a form of God's love. Like,
It's like
we-
it's like Hellraiser, essentially.
yeah, to a
That's
degree.
kind of the theory of
Ultimate
Hellraiser, where it's
pleasure,
like
yeah.
like what we define as pleasure is not
is not actually what.
what God does or what the
Exactly.
what the metaphysical does, right?
And so therefore,
also,
it also speaks to the element that of what is good
Mm-hmm.
also follows the same suit.
So to flip this on its head, though, I think this is what's strange for me with our ideological split, which is obviously not so stark, but Tanner, you have like this sensibility to you to like take what we're talking about, this chaos that we're talking about, and sort of look at the best of man and regiment it to some extent.
I think it comes from me naturally being an optimist in general.
I am also optimist, I think, even though I'm a nihilist. I'm also
I am
optimist.
not an optimist.
I tend to be optimistic.
I call myself a utilitarian very often.
I think I take the pendulum approach in that most people are good. Most people have good in their heart and good intentions. And I hate to use the term we're flawed creatures, but we
are though, absolutely. So I studied philosophy quite a bit in college. I have a degree in it, and so to roll back.
That's an argument from authority, sir.
Yeah, no, I said that already. I've mentioned that before on this podcast. To roll back though is the point. My point being, by saying that, is that when you think about ideologies that have existed in time, and what relates most to the socialist political philosophy is that there's this utilitarianism to it, right? Where it's like what benefits the most people is the right action. That's utilitarianism. Like
That's the Spock approach. Needs of the many outweighs the needs of the few.
It's your Descartes. It's your Kant, right?
Spock.
Like the
Just say
opposite of
Spock.
Camus is it's talking about like instead of worrying so much about nothing mattering, it's like even if nothing matters, that the fact that nothing matters doesn't matter. We are here, and why not make the best world for all of us? That's essentially the utilitarian perspective. Like whatever action.
But that's to me that's so subjective.
Is it though?
Yeah.
So
my utopia is different than your utopia. It's different than his utopia.
But is there no objective truth that is the benefit of all? Like,
Are there objective truths benefit of all? Yeah, eat your green beans. It's healthy for you.
so
Now that's an objective truth. So now
Hold
who's
on,
going to
hold on.
force people to eat the green beans?
No. You're being very specific.
So-
I mean more.
Who do you want me to be?
Yeah.
So I'm
Broad brushstroke?
No, I mean to say this. Listen.
Okay.
I mean to say, like, say we have two options, right? One is we can pick the top, 100 people of this society and put them in a safety bunker and save them from an apocalypse, right? Or
This is, again, so subjective. Who determines the top 100 and for what
it
reasons?
certainly is exactly.
Okay,
That's the point.
That's kind of the point that I'm making.
Okay.
Or, we can, and those people will be, so those people will have 0% death, right? Or we can take 1 million people and save 90% of them, 10% might die in some orientation or another, but 90% of those people will live.
So this is a Deep Impact, the movie Deep Impact situation.
Sure.
Meteors come in.
Not even Armageddon. Deep Impact.
Deep Impact. Well, they do a lottery. Who's going to go into the cave bunkers and survive.
Sure. Right. But so the point being is, like, if you can save more people, regardless of their whatever
Intrinsic value to society.
whatever your definition of that, that's the intrinsic value being a subjective perspective, right? Utilitarianism would say save the most people, right? Whereas eugenics might say save the 100 best genes that we have possible and replicate those genes later on in life.
Yes, morally, people would align with the. That's the.
It's the Christian versionality of it.
Yeah. But the train track.
dilemma.
Thank you. The train track dilemma. I couldn't think of it. So they actually. This is very interesting.
The trolley.
The trolley example. Dawkins talks about it in the God Delusion.
The trolley dilemma is the most famous philosophical.
Right,
Or the,
but
what do they call it?
But there's-
How do I throw myself in front of the
but
train?
there's the argument. There's an inherent truth.
to numbers.
No, well, to numbers, but also. Okay, so this would be my argument against the Christian things that good comes from God, or the argument
All that is good.
all that is good is God. That there's no one thing I got booed at this the libertarian thing was that morality is found in nature, and it's actually not just a man-made creation.
Sure.
So, and that
I
you need
agree-
to you need
Just
to
to that.
yes you need to
I agree with that for the most part.
okay. So I so you don't need to be of Christian Western
Or
religious
human.
philosophy
Or human.
to know what is good and what's right and wrong. And they said, no, you need to have this Christian influence. That was the argument. And so
Some asshole was really
it was,
spewing some
oh my
religious
God.
fucking-
Hey, how about this? At this convention, and I
A libertarian convention?
it was rough, dude. It wasn't.
You really think libertarians are pro
it was-
Islam? Like
It was Republicans in sheep's clothing, and I was
Libertarian
caught.
should be atheist, I think.
Most are. I feel most are. If you're willing to, my argument in my book is if you're willing to reject Big Brother on a celestial level or terrestrial level, you should be willing to
Reject him on a celestial one as well.
It should just come second nature.
Right,
but for some reason, for a percentage, it doesn't. I don't know why, but regardless.
It's so easy to look at the institutions that
So
propagate religion and see the sheep and wolf's clothing, or wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
a guy stood up at this convention and literally had this is not a guy. I shouldn't say a guy. A person on the board, the guy who hits the hammer and whatever, stood up and said and denounced my point and said countered it with 80% of suicide bombers are atheists, and I should be disgusted that I align with atheism. There's that face. And I said, where did you get your statistic? And he said, the leader of his parish gave the statistic in a sermon. I said, is anyone going to ask for his resignation for saying something incredibly demonstrably disgusting and false and wrong? I said, I don't care if you as an adult believe that, but you also have children, and you're going to teach them incorrect things. And you're going to go in the world, and they're going to be laughed at and ridiculed for saying something so insane. But regardless,
I have a
It's very-
I have
I
a
said
very
he
quick
should
point
hand it
that
his-
I
It's
wanna
very
press.
clear that
I will give this whole
zealousy is the drive to do something that extreme.
on another podcast,
Atheists-
I will give my whole story of this thing where they chased me out with torches and pitchforks because I made some points that they didn't like.
Atheists
So,
aren't
hold on.
zealots typically. I mean, sure, there's a couple, but like
All right,
But
I
my
wanna
point, my
actually-
whole
I
point, I
wanna-
want to say my one point. My one point for the trolley thing was I gave the example at this thing where they, I think it's in Dawkins' God Delusion, where they brought the same scenario to an indigenous culture that had never been seen white man before or Christianity before, and they presented the same example but using canoes because they were able to head boats and they had canoes, and the result was the same. This is how we would structure it. We would save these people for this reason.
It is a rational argument.
Yeah, you didn't need Christian moral goodness to teach you that's right and or wrong. Sorry, go ahead.
So we got a direct message from somebody in a private message, and they said, "Your stream should be called Left Right Atheist."
Probably. It brings up a couple points, and not to harp too much on the left right atheist approach, but it goes to show that you can't have an irrational belief, being one of faith or in having a religious perspective, try to justify rational decisions. There's the constant position of you can't use logic to get someone out of a position they didn't use logic to get themselves into.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of funny to me to hear that, while it must have been a very harrowing experience for you being chased out of...
Not physically chased, but a third of this room booed me, and they tried to cut my mic. The pro-free speech people tried to cut my mic. And then a third of the room came up after me saying, yeah, I agreed with everything you said. Those guys are crazy. And they were like, So and I made some good connections, and people actually in government, and actually some of the campaign managers that are on Joe Jorgensen's campaign right now, we're friends on Facebook, and we kept in contact, and but yeah, it was rough. I'll give the story on it left right from beginning to end, and it's just gut-wrenchingly gross.
So
I do want to continue with my move on though. Yeah, and it is a kind of similar question, but it does shift gears a little. Goes off of a remark that you said about that person who said, like, my leader of my parish gave this remark. Do you think putting children in Sunday school is a form of abuse?
It's
no. Just my gut instinct says no.
I would say abuse is too strong of a word, but it is.
It's arguably brainwashing and therefore abuse.
It's certainly ideological conditioning, right? For sure.
Brainwashing. What are you looking for?
It is brainwashing. I think that's true. I think abuse to some extent implies intent or assault, and the best
I have evidence against.
May I finish real quick?
No. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Someone who puts their children and I'm an atheist, obviously, like a staunch atheist, like fuck religion, but someone who puts their children in Sunday school. Their intention is not abuse. Their intention is to give their children
a moral structure that they think is sound, and
it certainly does. It's certainly antithetical to my personal beliefs, for sure.
Mormons, so members of the LDS Church, will engage in
they're bad examples. They're
barbaric
crazy
positions for it, but that's the thing is, we separate. LDS
context is key, though, right? Like if you put yourself in, if you put your child in
So now we have to say Lutheran Sunday school is better than Protestant, which is infinitely better than
the one
Catholic?
teaching Sharia law.
But if you put your child,
that still institutes a point. We're splitting hairs over the faith, the denomination.
I'm sure Unitarian churches have Sunday school, right?
They do,
and they're designed specifically for inclusivity, and even for atheists. Unitarians have atheists there in their school, in their churches, right?
So but I don't have a problem with someone being spiritual. Like if
spirituality is different.
All I'm saying is
faith in a religion.
Not to the religious.
They falsely equate the two.
Yes.
Whether or not I agree that you shouldn't enforce your beliefs on a child before they have the capacity to interpret
formulate their own is actually.
I think it's Dawkins just said we live in a very different world if all children were brought to religion at age 15.
I think, but
yes.
Sure, absolutely. But I think that said, agreed.
Yes.
That said, agreed. I think abuse is just too strong of a word for me.
Yeah, it's not abuse.
Social conditioning is deemed as abuse, by the way. Gaslighting is a form of abuse.
But gaslighting is a very harsh thing. Gaslighting.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Telling Catholic children that if you don't eat the bread that is apparently the body of Christ and drink the blood of Christ,
symbolic.
You will get
yes.
Do you think a 3-year-old understands symbolism?
I'm on Tanner's side of this
It's-
one. On paper,
Are you telling me now that a
in a
3-year-old
literal
understands symbolism?
no. On paper,
Yeah.
that is absolutely gaslighting.
But in execution.
But how often does a child walk away from communion and like that's all I think about?
As a child who grew up in that, me.
I did too, though. I did not.
Many others did.
I
And
did
they're
not
like,
I didn't think about church when I was out of church.
You know what
I
else
can't
it brings
do X,
up?
Y, and Z because God will hate me.
Masturbate.
There are people you
Masturbation's
can
one of
form
them.
incredibly.
Spoiler alert,
You can
jerk off
form,
on everything.
but there's good that comes from it in the sense you can form lifelong friendships.
But you
My
yourself
best friend,
decide that
Oh,
Chartier,
yeah, we have a
structure.
comment on this topic. Mao Zedong says a 3-year-old is not allowed to take communion.
Dependent on the denomination and if it's wine versus juice.
I don't know if that's the case. I think there is. I'm sure
No.
it's probably not across the board. But
Yeah, three.
I honestly didn't know that. To be honest, so
now,
I
that
learned something.
now that I've read this though, I kind of
Three is an
remember.
arbitrary piece. 3-year-olds very rarely have a sense of self.
Sure.
So moving it to
6, 7.
6, 7, to a point where they're arguably sentient
Where you think it's
and
worse?
developing a point.
Where it's worse?
Yeah.
Where they have a
probably.
perspective? Where they have
Okay.
a personality that can be affected?
How about this? I'll make
Yes.
this claim. Okay. Sunday school is I would not use the term abusive for Sunday school. I would use
VeggieTales.
I would use I believe a circumcision is far more abusive of an action. Physically
sure.
would be far more
Agreed.
abusive than
Sure.
than
As
having a kid
as
attend a
circumcised
class.
male, I agree.
As a
I was assaulted as a child.
You were.
which is weird.
Why?
I'll give you. I can give my
The argument was for cleanliness. That's bullshit.
Yep.
and aesthetics.
Aesthetics also bullshit.
I disagree.
Almost every other fucking.
I disagree with the aesthetics part.
You think women prefer a circumcised penis?
I think
don't-
all
don't
people
think
do because 95% of porn is circumcised penis, and it's
I think it's
visually
also because most porn is produced in the U.S. and also that is a representative.
not my
populace.
dark dungeon Russian porn.
First and foremost, do I have the site for you?
Oh boy. So, but no, the majority is circumcised, and so there was a point I was making with this, the bris, and I was going to think
is that
attending
also
a class.
perpetuating a a that
did you
is a
die?
false piece?
Oh, but I was going to say,
Did you die?
But I also am against parents who I have my baby girl, and I'm going to go pierce her ears this weekend, like an infant girl. I feel that to be abuse.
That's assault. You're saying?
I feel that to be abuse because they're
It's literally
screaming their heads off. They are not consenting. They're not.
I agree with you. You're physically.
You're accessorizing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Your
I
baby.
mean,
That's all you're doing. I want to
children-
be.
babies getting
I
their vaccines in the first 2 years of their lives are screaming. Is that abuse?
So this is like this. So
No,
you're
one's
actually,
accessorizing for cosmetic
Oh, yeah,
purposes.
don't get me wrong. Those fucking assholes in Claire's with their fucking piercing guns.
yeah,
Abuse.
you're certainly
Abuse
sitting back
100%.
into like true libertarianism and saying that because like yes, that child is a person. That child should decide what they want their ears pierced. Like,
Yeah, when you're
I'll
6,
say
7
right
years
now.
old and you tell it you want to do this, we can go do this. Here's what it
Okay.
is.
Yes.
we get
I'm
really-
glad that was the point where we made it.
we
A
get
3-year-old.
we get really get into this right now because we can talk about gender politics right now.
But I also would.
Yes. If any child wants to go and get their ears pierced, fucking go let them.
Sure.
But I also
But-
think at maybe 6, 7 years old, you should ask the child, "Do you want to go to this school on this class on Sunday?"
But all my friends are there, so yes.
So what if they said, "Yeah"? So what's wrong with that? Yes. If they're
No.
making social
Tanner's
bonds.
Tanner's actual position is what if they say no? Should they still have to go? I say no.
I say no. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they say no, I don't want to go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But my point
We're
is,
in agree-
if you're
we're-
asking a
absolutely
child,
agree.
like, hey, do you want to go to the Sunday school?
But you have people that
On Sunday.
resist that brainwashing stuff. Like our Chartier, or one of our closest friends, is like he grew up in a crazy religious household. Not crazy. That's the wrong term. I'm sorry. Super religious household.
Crazy
household.
religious. Yes.
I mean,
Dude,
like,
he's gonna go through these and be like, I got named.
and he was but
Isaiah
he was
too,
homeschooled, and they were super religious, and they went to, and this is a family that went to church. Like they did the Thursday night service, they did the Saturday night service, they did the Sunday night, they did it multiple times.
Seems like a lot of wasted time.
Yeah, we have a friend named Isaiah, kind of the same
But
situation.
and
where
he
it's
turned
like-
out like the smartest guy I know. He's actually probably shifted more towards rejecting the church and religion all around together as of recent. But
do you think that he's adopted
I think
that
it's
sort
common.
of intellectual piece? You do see it a lot of people who have lost their faith.
Talking about Isaiah's too. Again, Isaiah's never watched this, but he did. He
But he
threw his faith away, and he became a public defender. And like when we talked to him, he actively rejects like the tenets of his upbringing.
Which,
Now,
circling back to the initial point,
Chartier's
that
father.
is where sort of the existential and the nihilist.
According to
Chartier's.
Chartier's now the counterpoint of this is Chartier's father, growing up, was making all the wrong decisions and was on a path of literal self-destruction. And it was the church and that community and the moral teachings that they taught that turned him around to have a beautiful family and a beautiful, and he credits the church. He doesn't credit his own hard work and dedication. He credits the church. And the religion stuff.
Is that not a weakness, though?
Thank you.
But is that bad? If a life was
no,
saved,
it is objectively not bad, but I don't think it should be the norm.
No, it's a weakness.
I don't think that people
what's
should.
wrong with having a crutch?
It's a cultural.
What's wrong with that?
So that's.
If I break my leg, I get a crutch.
My point is that I don't think
he broke his leg spiritually or internally. His leg was broken.
I don't think that people should pursue actively seeking out the crutch in order to go.
I don't think he actively pursued it. I think he
I
kind of fell in his lap.
I don't think this is an example of someone who is, like, oh, I'm going to go throw my life away because the church will be there for me. I don't think that at all. I think this is someone who may have had alternative lifestyle choices. Maybe they weren't making the best decisions, so on, or best in their own self-interest decisions, and they found support where they needed it. That's fine. I don't think we should force people into that support structure.
Especially children.
I agree.
Which goes back to my point: is you should
actually,
ask them,
arguably, I would say don't push anyone.
I just think abuse is like a hard term to use in that situation because, like, especially like imagine being a fucking
is it wrong?
Parents, like being a parent's already hard enough. Like trying to give your kids whatever your moral background is. Even though I don't maybe don't ideologically agree with it, it's like you can't call it abuse in the same way that like hitting your kid is abuse. Like it's like.
There is a very broad spectrum of abuse.
Sure.
I don't think what they're teaching in the school is abuse.
If it is abuse,
I can tell you, CCD would be like, hey, don't engage in false idolatry, or you're going to hell and you're going to burn for eternity.
Yeah, okay, so that's like the hardcore Catholic coming in. Like I'm talking like I went. Okay.
Catholicism is still one of the most widely practiced faith in America and arguably globally. Yeah. So sorry, this shared belief of like, oh no, not all religious sects are at this. You're right, not all are, but there's still a core tenet of beliefs which lend credence to the fact that this is.
See, the Sunday school I went to, or it was like I actually went with Charter stuff. They literally played like they had a slideshow and they played Nirvana, like Smells Like Teen Spirit, and they broke down the lyrics and they said, "Can we find?"
Not all Sunday schools are created equal. Is what you're trying to say,
right? Can we find? And it was like cool. They're playing rock music. They're trying to really reach the kids. Can we find meaning in this lyric? If he's tormented, what could religion do to help him out of this?
Before or after?
Should we?
Sure, I don't. It's way after, but like,
but
I'm just saying, like they really tried to.
I'm sorry, Cobain did
they
not
tried
kill
to
himself.
They tried to teach Courtney.
He was killed by Courtney Love.
Courtney Love.
I think it's a universal acknowledgement.
Universal
I think that's a good way to go and.
We should move.
So we're doing
no. So yeah, we have a whole other section to this. That's why I'm trying to wrap us up.
We are going to bring it to the lightning round.
Yeah. Question.
Universal constant though. Courtney Love definitely killed Kurt Cobain.
Yeah. Yes. It was.
And also Epstein didn't kill himself.
Boom.
Well, yes.
2 for 2.
Do we not all agree with that? We all agree Epstein didn't kill himself. That shit's sus as fuck.
The real question is who did kill him?
Yeah, Clinton's acting pretty sus right now.
Fucking Prince Charles, the Queen's acting sus.
They all did it. They all collaborated. Alrighty.
Stop, collaborate, and listen.
Stop, collaborate, and listen to these questions that I have for you. Well, great segue.
If you have questions in the chat, please post them now.
Yes, we'll try and answer them. I have 4 right here, but we'll try and answer the ones in the chat at the same time. So it's a lightning round. I'm trying to answer them as quickly as we could. Talking about art last week, per Jake, who is your favorite artist and or painting?
So visual artist.
Yes, a painter.
Specifically visual artist.
Yes.
René Magritte. Surrealist painter, French. Specifically, you might recognize his painting.
We're gonna look it up.
Ceci n'est pas pipe.
Oh, you say okay.
It's a painting of a pipe with a title over it in French. That this is not a pipe in French, and then it's a painting of a pipe. So it's like literally it's that like jarring. And
so there's actually I did a play on that, and Travis has seen it. It's the Tournée de Chat Noir painting that he has out there, and I painted Ce n'est pas un chat. It's not a cat.
Right.
And so I combined the two.
But yeah, exactly. But like something about that as a younger person, sort of like awoke something in me to understand that like art is what it says it is. It doesn't adhere to whatever the norms or our expectations are. It exists on its own right, and that was something so like potent and bold to me. That kind of actually is the reason why I got into film. Really, like that sort of concept of like art is as much the formation of it as it is what you receive from it.
Yeah.
So it was really important to me.
I have two. One is Edward Hopper.
It's right there.
Nighthawks.
Yeah.
It's a little outside of the.
What an incredible! Hold on, I'll look at that. We'll do that.
I mean,
we go. Bye, guys.
See ya. So Nighthawks, shitty print, but like well worth it.
Very good, very great painting. Amazing painting.
Number two, or not number two, artist for it, but Roy Lichtenstein. So pop art, very big sort of piece for me. So those two, Hopper and Lichtenstein.
Cool. So my. Oh yeah, I know Roy. I know this. Okay. Yeah. My favorite painter in general is Pollock.
Pollock's good answer.
I love Jackson Pollock. I just like trying to find order in the chaos, but my personal favorite painting is. My gut instinct is to say persistence of memory, which for you guys don't know what that is. It's the melting clock photos.
Any Dali painting.
It's by Dali.
Any Dali painting.
Surrealist painter.
Dali is my next one after Magritte. So like any surrealist painting is like my fucking shit for sure.
Yeah. So that's probably my go-to favorite one that I like to look at visually. So yeah, Pollock and
I'll pull
Dali.
that one up actually. I love
Pollock
that painting.
Next.
Now it still says 2
Oh,
hours.
here I see. Maybe yes. We're trying to fix this, guys.
Yeah, sorry.
I see us now.
You do?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, we had some technical difficulties.
Sorry about that.
I don't know if you guys can hear us or see us. Hello, we are going to wave. I can see myself on the
Yeah,
screen.
we're good now. Yeah.
Okay.
To go back to what you're saying.
Sorry about that. So the question of the lightning round was apologize. Was one thing we know nothing about and wish we knew more on. I am oblivious to cars. I don't know car parts, fixing cars, anything. I wish I knew more about it. I turn in my man card. I don't know anything about cars.
Kind of the antithesis of having a man card for it. I don't know shit about interior design. Paint colors, pairings, like.
That's why you got
You're
Ashley.
also colorblind too, though.
Ash, I have a girl I'm seeing. She's phenomenal for it.
Excellent. So you have outlets.
Yeah, I have a.
My other answer would have been cooking, but I've been trying to get better into cooking, researching, following, studying.
I'm a pretty solid cook, so I'm good on that front.
Jake?
My parents taught me one of two things: is either you will learn to clean or you will learn to cook.
My answer is humility.
You know nothing about humility.
I don't know. I definitely could know more about carpentry, I guess.
Woodworking,
shit.
the hands.
I like the idea of like being better at building things that are
That's a good answer.
existing
I'm
in
gonna
the
steal
world.
that answer.
Carpentry is good.
My brother and I built this.
It's such a sustainable like skill to have, I think.
3 shows we should watch. I don't know if this means 3 each or we each name one. So I'm just gonna name. I'll rattle off 3 real quick. Doctor Who. You can start with the 9th Doctor. You don't have to watch all the way from the beginning. Doctor Who. The BBC Sherlock series with Benedict Cumberbatch. It's like 4 seasons and it's fantastic. And I really like. I don't know. I gotta give a comedy in there. I did 2 kind of serious ones. Big Mouth. Big Mouth's great.
Big Mouth solid. I'm gonna steal one of Jake's that I have a feeling he'd go for.
Don't fuck me over, Travis.
So I'm gonna go Midnight Gospel.
You fucking bitch!
I would also recommend probably The Boys. Early show for it. Definitely recommend. Very violent, but still good. And 3rd show, probably The Great British Bake Off.
Oh, Ashley watches that show.
I love competitive cooking shows too, which is funny that
I like Chopped.
cooking.
I enjoy
Chopped is great.
We like Hell's Kitchen. We watch that a lot.
I don't really care for Gordon Ramsay, but like, YOLO. But Bake Off is just low stress. Like, things could be bad, but like you're not like, fuck this guy, I'm gonna go screw his stuff over in the air fryer.
Real talk, dead ass. Do you want to know what me and Ashley's guilty pleasure show is? Curse of Oak Island on the History Channel. They never find shit, and they're like 7 seasons in, but we can't stop watching because what if this is the season? What if this is the season where they find a piece of parchment that's been destroyed by water forever?
All right, so for me, my perfect series to watch, not underrated, but like maybe forgotten a little bit right now, Mad Men. An incredible show with an incredible cast, incredible writing. What a great show.
I've never seen Mad Men. I've also never seen Breaking Bad.
You would love Mad Men.
Never seen Breaking Bad either.
You know,
I
didn't watch Breaking Bad because the fans ruined it for me.
You want to hear something? Real take here. Hard take.
Dead ass.
Mad Men is better than Breaking Bad. I'll say it right now.
Never seen both, so I can't be a judge of that. I'll take your word for it, Jake.
Definitely Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's a one that underappreciated show. I'll do two comedies since you guys took my other good ones. Arrested Development. You should watch that shit.
No, Archer's
Arrested Development over Archer. But
fake news.
You're wrong.
So
honestly,
fake
the
news.
amount of times that I have said it's not a trick, Michael.
It's illusions.
Like, no,
I do quote Arrested Development's the one with the dove in the box. And he goes, "I don't know what I expected."
Yeah.
I quote that sometimes. Yeah.
So,
But
Archer's phenomenal. Though,
but also
so.
it's got the same. What's her name? What's her name? Woman who plays the mother in both of them.
Yeah. She plays Mallory Archer.
Yeah.
It's literally the same character.
Essentially.
They literally hired her saying, "Just play her. Just be her."
They just stole the character.
Yeah.
Just
literally
instead of
the same.
saying Michael, say Sterling.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much
That's
it.
it.
Jessica Walter.
Drake.
Yes, Jessica Walter. Fuck. Why did I blank on that?
Doctor Who serious? Yes, Dixie Wolf serious because a key arc to that story is called Bad Wolf, and so it's part of your name. You'll love it. And yeah, Doctor Who, Ninth Doctor. It's fantastic. It's an emotional roller coaster. I cried. I cried so much.
So long as we can all agree that the Time War is dumb.
Time War was necessary. It
Still dumb.
sets the whole arc of the Doctor's torment. Okay, Doctor Who.
Next
Third,
question.
final question. Favorite candy? Mine growing up, it's not anymore, but I used to be addicted to Sweet Tarts. I always had a roll of Sweet Tarts on me throughout the week.
Yeah, I don't really like candy so much anymore, so I have to go with like a child answer, I think.
I guess
so I
we
will
count
always,
Doritos and Mountain Dew as candy.
No.
Damn.
But also, people viewing, feel free to throw in questions as well.
It's a children's program? Get out of here. Fake news.
Yes.
It is so
we
far
are
from a
mild
children's
sedative.
program.
We are taking questions if you want to.
It is not.
Yes.
It is
Yes,
100%
we are.
not
Feel-
a children's
feel free to
program.
throw questions
There's
out.
literal death and murder and sex.
All right,
You know,
Tanner.
like,
Welcome
there's-
to the Old Testament, which we give to children.
Right. Candy, anyways, candy, Travis.
Candy,
Can we boot Dixie Wolf from this chat?
toss up right now. I will forever be a chocolate and peanut butter slut. So
Hate peanut butter with chocolate.
Reese's-
Nope. Ugh,
Reese's
garbage.
are there.
Garbage.
Give me Reese's Nutrageous.
Garbage.
Give me
All right.
fucking
My candy.
Fast breaks.
Chocolate's
all
good
of
on its own. You don't need to muddy it up with peanut butter.
I got some like.
Peanut butter, it's you get two good things.
No.
I got some.
Pineapple pen. You've got.
I got some old man ass answers.
Also, my
though.
friends who put
Are you about
macaroni.
to fucking say
my buddy also-
because I will kick you
No.
off
My
That's
old
the
ass
same argument.
answer.
My buddy had put hot dogs into macaroni and cheese, and I thought that was
Delicious.
vile.
until you
Vile.
ate it.
No, it's so gross. No,
Oh,
my
God,
God.
get out.
Get out.
Do you want to hear my old ass answers?
Sure.
I love this question by Miles.
When I was a kid, I had two of them. They're both the oldest man answers for candy possible.
Taffy.
Taffy is my
Werther's
current.
original.
Taffy is my current answer. My
Werther's Originals.
Old man answers were circus peanuts
Oh, it's
get
Ashley's.
out.
It's so
and
gross.
orange slices.
Oh, Ashley
God, we
loves
need a
that
new AV
gross,
person.
stale orange peanut.
But back in the
circus
day,
peanuts.
so
It's
currently
gross.
Taffy's the way I'd go for sure. Taffy, saltwater Taffy specifically.
I guess
Chocolate,
Milky
chocolate
Way.
and
No,
peanut butter.
no, chocolate and caramel. I'm a chocolate and caramel guy.
So I will take Snickers.
All right, so
Snickers-
we have a question by the
I
way.
think it's the new.
Yeah, what
the nougat's
fly
good.
would you be if you landed on a head?
If you were a fly, whose head would you land on and why?
I'm glad that Mike Pence photo is just sitting at the bottom of this and not actually addressed.
We didn't even address the topic.
which is fine. For irony's sake, Jeff Goldblum's
Oh, the fly on the fly.
Fly on the Fly.
I don't
Oh,
know.
dog,
if
I heard you like
top.
flies.
Yeah.
I don't think it could be topped.
The
I'm trying to
severed
think.
head of the pig in Lord of the Flies would be another.
Stop answering, so we have other answers.
One. Just get funny.
Fuck you.
All I can think of flies is the scene in Amityville Horror where the priest is like swatting them away.
Yeah.
Like, I can't.
I think I'd want to be a fly on the head of Cameron Diaz, specifically in Charlie's Angels. I don't know why.
Really? You don't want it to be after Ben Stiller's
No,
hair gel
no,
gets
no,
in her hair?
no,
You want it to be all
that's the
inside
best
his-
time.
Mary.
All
Yeah.
inside his spooge.
No, I think on the set. I'm saying
How did it
the
get there?
actress Cameron Diaz on
It
the
took
set
us 5 episodes to finally say spooge in our.
on the set of Charlie's Angels. That movie is very strange that it exists for me, because like no
Didn't it
one
get
was.
remade?
Who the fuck was asking for Charlie's Angels when that movie came out? Nobody was. No one was like.
That's the whole premise of reboots.
No one was
Which
like.
may be my topic
No one's asking
next
for
week.
A-Team, but guess what? It's gonna
coming
be,
out,
We're
yeah.
gonna get a new
But-
18.
But
Now we are. Someone's gonna
Oh,
hear
Jesus.
this. Some
I actually
figure.
very much enjoyed the Bradley Cooper fucking Kimbo. Was that Kimbo Slice? Who played Mr. T? Or
I don't even remember there was. I
fucking-
didn't know there was an
yeah,
A-Team
Liam
remake.
Neeson
So.
as well. So that said, yeah, I think the
I
answer
didn't-
here is Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Gold, I can't top.
Yeah, that's really the right answer, right? Sure. Today, though, even skipping the fly shit, Jeff Goldblum just has the best life and should be emulated and
I
lived
highly
upon.
recommend on Disney Plus The World According to Jeff
It's really good.
Goldblum.
It's very good. Very good.
I haven't seen it.
He-
Is it a children's program, as apparently Doctor Who is?
Probably actually. Probably.
Anyway, guys, that will be our show. Rackhouse. What is toxic masculinity?
We don't know either.
We don't know either. Follow us on Facebook, Left Right Cab, Twitter, Left Right Cab, this Twitch stream, which you already are, our YouTube channel, Left Right Cab. Everything's Left Right Cab. We do this
The
every
dude
Thursday.
selling bootleg DVDs, left, right.
Left Right Cab. We do this every Thursday night. Sometimes shows run a little longer than we would. We're sorry about the cutout halfway through or towards the end. We don't know what happened. But yeah, we'll be back next Thursday. New wine, new topics. I am Tanner Hall.
I'm Travis Pajoli.
I'm Jake Rudder.
Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with us tonight.
Bonne nuit.
The T is softer.
Bone knew it.
Bonne nuit.